Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. You're listening to The Drive for Friday, September 22nd. I am your friend, and I am your radio buddy. I am your Farb, and I am here to bring you news and information so that wherever it is you're going, when you get there, you'll be the smartest person in the room. That's the goal. And we're going to start off by just heading out to the swamp here. There's a lot of swampalicious activity happening in the swamp right now. Let me run through it. I think perhaps the biggest story of the day that has a swamp connection is the indictment of Bob Menendez, the senator, the Democrat senator, senior senator from the state of New Jersey, on bribery offenses. Boy, does this sound like a juicy story. I mean, it's got all the things that you want for a real investigation. You got gold bars, you got money stuff in jackets, you've got people who have been apparently bought very expensive cars. I mean, let the district attorney or the prosecutor for the state of New Jersey, let him talk about exactly what it is they have.
Today I'm announcing that my office has obtained a 3-count indictment charging Senator Robert Menendez, his wife Nadine Menendez, and 3 New Jersey businessmen, while Hannah, Jose Uribe, and Fred Davies, for bribery offenses. The investigation that led to these charges has been run out of the Southern District of New York. The indictment alleges that between 2018 and 2022, Senator Menendez, the senior U.S. Senator from New Jersey, and the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and his wife Nadine Menendez, engaged in a corrupt relationship with Hannah, Uribe, and Davies. The indictment alleges that through that relationship, the senator and his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes in exchange for Senator Menendez using his power and influence to protect and to enrich those businessmen and to benefit the government of Egypt. The indictment alleges that Hannah, Uribe, and Davies provided bribes in the form of cash, gold, home mortgage payments, a low-show or a no-show job for Nadine Menendez, a Mercedes-Benz, and other things of value to the senator and his wife.
They found over $480,000 in cash in the house, much of it stuffed into envelopes, hidden in clothing, closets, and a safe, and that was at home. I mean, it's really something. In 2015, Menendez, the Daily Caller broke news of a prostitution allegation against Menendez that ended up picking up the attention of the FBI, and he's had other charges brought against him in the past. It ended in a hung jury. But this one sounds like they may have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. He is 69 years old and now under indictment. He, of course, says that he did nothing wrong, but that's what they do whenever they get caught. So we'll keep an eye on it. You are not guilty until proven guilty by a court and a jury of your peers. Let's see what else we have. John Fetterman is apparently very upset. He teared up and got emotional as he reflected how Republicans ridiculed and made fun of him over his disability. I don't think anybody's made fun of him over his disability. I think probably they've made fun of him over the way that he dresses. And the new news is, of course, that now there is no dress code in the United States Senate. He actually presided over the Senate as the presiding officer in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and no socks and tennis shoes. I mean, at least, put on a pair of socks, man. Come on. He's very, very tender, apparently. He doesn't look like he'd be a tender guy, but apparently he is a very tender guy. And now even top Democrats are coming up with a pan of the idea that you could come to the Senate floor without being dressed in a coat and tie. Chuck Schumer did this unilaterally, saying senators can decide what it is they want to wear, and now almost everybody in the Senate, except for Fetterman, and Schumer seem to be in disagreement, and they say, no, we need to have a dress code. We need to have a dress code. Even my arch nemesis, Dick Durbin's on the right side on this one. He's my arch nemesis because he once called me a moose. And they're, it looks like they're going to, Manchin's passing around a motion that might turn into a vote in the United States Senate to put a dress code back in place. There really was never a written dress code. It was something that was just sort of informally enforced by the sergeant at arms. You didn't get onto the floor of the United States Senate without being dressed properly. That was one of the things that they did. Okay, also from the swamp, this one perhaps impacts a lot more people and bears a lot of watching. Joe Biden has appointed a gun ban lobbyist to co-head an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. He couldn't manage to get a Bloomberg gun batter in as the head of the ATF, but he's got to settle for something and getting a minion of the billionaire mega donor ferociously opposed to the Second Amendment. That's right. Bloomberg is opposed to the Second Amendment. Biden announced he's creating a new Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Democrats have gone pro-crime, eliminating bail, and lynching cops and legalizing many criminal acts like robbery. And they keep insisting that thugs shooting people are somehow about guns, not the crime. But by gosh, they're going to come after your guns. They're going to make sure that they do everything they can to try to crack down on gun violence. Here's a noble idea. Here's just a novel concept. How about arresting people who break the law, like your son Hunter Biden? Maybe you should sick the new Office of Gun Violence Prevention on Hunter Biden because he violates the laws regarding guns. So that's going to happen, and I tell you what, I think this is an area of great concern. Watch this carefully because who knows where they are headed. Biden has the wrong opinion about the Second Amendment. He doesn't understand it at all, and he's been responsible for having legislation passed that outlawed certain guns in the past that did eventually expire. But he's bound and determined. He's just said, well, we got to crack down. We don't need AR-15s. Well, let me decide if I need an AR-15 or not. And by the way, I have decided that I need an AR-15. In fact, I decided I needed one so badly that I bought one. So, I'm just saying, it's one of the most popular guns in America. People say, well, you don't need an AR-15. Well, who says that you get to decide what I need? And the other thing that I say is Second Amendment, shut up. But they're going to come after, I don't know what this is going to be, but it bears a lot of watching. I got a bad feeling about this. Here's a story, though, that actually falls in the direction I would like to see it fall. Biden handed a major legal defeat in an attempt to restrict oil gas drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Federal judge blasts Biden officials for appearing to weaponize wildlife protection laws to block drilling. They weaponize everything, don't they? Federal court struck down the Biden administration's last-minute restrictions on an upcoming oil and gas lease sale in a ruling late Thursday evening. Came down late yesterday afternoon from Judge James Kane of the Western District of Louisiana. He granted a preliminary injunction from plaintiffs, the State of Louisiana Industry Association, American Petroleum Institute, oil companies, to block the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's restriction on lease sale 261. Now, this sale spans millions and millions of acres across the Gulf of Mexico and is now again slated for next week. Kane ruled the federal government must proceed with the lease sale by September 30th under its original conditions. As a result of a July settlement with environmental groups, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, who knew there was such a thing, removed about 6 million acres from the sale and imposed various restrictions on oil and gas vessels associated with the leases auctioned to protect the rice whale. Apparently, there are some kind of species of whale. I mean, it sounds like, if I have this correct, the rice whales are said to exist, but I don't know that many people have seen them. They're apparently very rare, they say, so rare that I don't even know if they exist. But they say rice whales appear in the southeastern quadrant of the Gulf of Mexico, I believe is what they're saying. So in one way or the other, the whales have lost, and the drilling will go forward. The leases will be sold. And once again, it seems that we will be probably headed toward, again, more exploration in the Gulf of Mexico, which is what we need. It's exactly what we need. You're looking up the rice whales, aren't we? We talked about this once before, that nobody even knew they existed. And then all of a sudden, they say, no, they exist, they're real.
Yeah, it looks like 2019, in the last few years at least. But I think what they're saying is that they determined, in 2021, scientists determined that the Rice's whale was a unique species, genetically and morphologically distinct from the bird's whales. So I guess they determined that they thought they were just part of another class of whales, bird's whales, but now they're different. So they're Rice's whales.
On one hand, they're trying to stop drilling of oil, although there's no indication that the drilling of oil causes any problems for the whales. I mean, nobody has made that case. Nobody can make that case. On the other hand, over on the East Coast, they do have a problem with whales caused by those dadgum wind turbines, and whales are dying left and right as these wind turbines are going up. And everybody believes that's all connected to the death of many, 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 many whales. But because that's green energy, they don't want to stop that. But if you're drilling for oil, that would perhaps help fuel this nation and keep gas prices lower going down the path. Well, they got a problem with that. So I have a very little patience for this, but it seems to me that the Biden administration picks and chooses which whales they want to protect. And in here, at least one judge has seen through the nonsense and has said, nope, it will go forward as directed, and the unjustified restrictions will be removed. In late August, the API, the American Petroleum Institute, and a lot of other people filed the lawsuit against the Biden administration, calling for the court to require the Biden administration to fulfill its obligations to the American people. According to industry sales, lease sale 261 is the final federal offshore lease sale scheduled to ensure long-term oil and gas production in the Gulf of Mexico. If we don't continue to take the oil that is available to us and explore it, then we reach a point, which is where the Biden administration, this is everything they do is driven toward this point. They don't want you to have oil. They want to do away with fossil fuels anywhere they can do away with them. And, I remember a while back down in Florida, I had a friend, and they were trying to do a housing development down in Florida. And all of a sudden, somebody came in and said, we believe that the red-headed woodpecker is in existence here. Well, have you seen one? No. Have you got a picture of one? No. We think we heard one, and it actually got held up for a while because somebody thought, some bird watcher somewhere said, I think I heard a red-headed woodpecker. Apparently, they have a distinct call, and so but nobody ever saw one. Nobody ever got a picture of one. There weren't any eyewitnesses that said, no, I saw one, and nothing. It was simply, I think I may have heard one on my recent walk through the Everglades. And so, eventually that got taken care of like this one did. The people who love animals, I love animals too. I mean, I really do. I don't want the whales to be hurt. I don't think they'll be hurt by the drilling in the Gulf. They are being hurt by the windmills off the East Coast. So why don't we do something about that? 20 minutes now, past the hour of 3 o'clock. Hey, if you have the desire to add gold or silver to your portfolio, listen up. I want to tell you about Nashville Gold and Coin. And if you're looking to buy real, actual, hold it in your hand gold, silver, or bullion, this is the place I do business, and it's a place I recommend. You'll get an honest, friendly customer service and a real precious metals education. They also specialize in the buying, selling, and appraising of coins. Do you have any idea how much those old coins you have laying around might be worth? I brought in a few silver coins I had in a shoebox in my sock drawer. It turned out to be worth about $1,650. I was really surprised. Now, whether you're in the market to purchase precious metals or you just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, schedule a one-on-one consultation today. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
The White House announcing the new White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. A serious amount of Legos stolen in Tennessee, plus some Pope Francis news. We'll fill you in at 3:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Boy, we've got an interesting show lined up for you here today. There is more border news than I can shake a stick at, and we'll get into that coming up in the next hour. We are following the strike. Mac Morey, I'm just curious, do we have any indication that there's a strike down at Spring Hill? Because they widened the strike today, and I see on some of the national coverage that they say that there is at least one plant in Tennessee that has been impacted, but I don't think it's the one down in Spring Hill.
I have not seen anything that would indicate that either. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that it got to that. Apparently, Ford was left out of it because I guess the unions think that Ford is negotiating in good faith, but they did widen the strike today. So we'll get the very latest on that. It is Friday, so we'll do 2 rounds at 4:35 and 5:35 of Fone Ur Farb Friday, and don't miss 5:25. It's appointment radio. It's a fan favorite, Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports. You haven't told me what we're talking about today. Have you decided?
Yeah, we're going to preview the Titans' big matchup this weekend.
That's right. We did talk about that yesterday. I take it back. You did consult with me. Our president continues to entertain with his many gaps. We told you the story about how he went to a fundraiser. Now, there's no sound of him doing this, but there were witnesses, and it was reported by some reporters who were listening in that he apparently told exactly the same story minutes apart. It's a convoluted story about how he decided to make a run for the presidency in 2019, and he told the story completely. And then he went in another direction for a moment or two, and then less than about 2 minutes later, he came back and told the full exact story again, almost word for word, which, is what your elderly grandpa does. When you say, Grandpa, you told us that story, 20 minutes ago. But this was like a matter of minutes apart that he told the exact same story. And so Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about that at the press briefing today.
At a fundraiser this week, President Biden told donors about how Charlottesville inspired his campaign, and then according to the pool, at a fundraiser this week, President Biden told donors about how Charlottesville inspired his campaign, and then according to the pool, a few minutes later, he told the story again nearly word for word. What's up with that?
What I can tell you is, and I'm going to be careful not to talk about, because this was a campaign event for this upcoming campaign, obviously in 2024. So I'm not going to speak to that. Put that out there for the hashtag. What I can speak to is, look.
That one bothers me. She always throws up the Hatch Act. This has nothing to do with the Hatch Act. This has absolutely nothing to do with the Hatch Act. This has to do with a president who seems to be losing it. And it's a fair question of the press corps to ask Karine Jean-Pierre about things that happen that suggest that he is in cognitive decline.
What I can tell you is, and I'm going to be careful not to talk about, because this was a campaign event for this upcoming campaign, obviously in 2024. So I'm not going to speak to that. Put that out there for the Hatch Act. What I can speak to is, look, the president was making very clear why he decided to run in 2019. He made it very clear as to what he saw in this country and what was going on. He got 80 help protect our democracy, get our economy back on track, and what could be a leader and the adult in the room.
But you would think the adult in the room would not repeat a story twice. He never really addresses the question of why did he tell the same story, almost verbatim, and it's a lengthy story. About 2 or 3 minutes told them that story. It really is a great question, and I wish there were sound of it. It does not exist, but it is a question that should be asked. And then there's this. Here is the President of the United States at a gala. I think it was last night.
And I mean this sincerely. My dad used to say, everyone is entitled to be treated with dignity and respect. The Congressional Black Caucus embodies all those values.
Well, there's just one problem. He wasn't speaking to the Congressional Black Caucus. He was speaking to the Hispanic Congressional Caucus. So here again.
And I mean this sincerely. My dad used to say, everyone is entitled to be treated with dignity and respect. The Congressional Black Caucus embodies all those values.
Well, maybe he'll get it right when he goes to speak to the Congressional Black Caucus. It is now 30 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 85 degrees on Music Row. We've got a mostly sunny weekend ahead. Sunday, some possible showers in the afternoon into the evening that could leak over into Monday. Got traffic and a weekend weather forecast upcoming, just about 5 minutes away. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris talking about gun safety at the White House today. Biden announcing the creation of the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which he says, among other things, will coordinate more support for survivors of gun violence and expand the coalition of partners in states and cities across America to help get more laws passed.
Coordinate more support for survivors, families, and communities affected by gun violence, including mental health care, financial assistance, the same way FEMA responds to natural disasters.
Shoplifting in Tennessee. Franklin police are trying to find two men that are responsible for stealing thousands of dollars worth of Lego sets from a Target in Cool Springs. Officials say a total of 6 sets were stolen, which is around $1,500 worth of Legos. And the men left the store in a gray Nissan Cube. There's a cash reward for anyone who might be able to identify them. And Pope Francis traveled to the French city of Marseille today to highlight the plight of migrants. Anastela Catera has more from Paris.
Pope Francis decrying what he said is the fanaticism of indifference when it comes to migrants traveling from Africa to Europe, often by boat, adding the migrants must be rescued, calling it a duty of humanity and a duty of civilization. The pontiff also participating in a moment of silence at a monument in honor of those who've lost their lives at sea. Other faith leaders and migrant rescue groups also attended.
And that is the latest news, weather, and traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Busy Bee HVAC and plumbing. Good people, really good people. And if you have a problem this time of year, and you could have a problem with either side, either your air conditioning or your heating. I mean, it's chilly at night. Maybe your heater's not getting it done. Maybe the air conditioner's not working when it warms up in the middle of the day. One way or the other, if it's going on the fritz, give them a call at 615-775-7833, and they will buzz right over, come to your house, and fix whatever is going on there. If you find, and they'll give you all the options, but if you find that it's time to replace it, you're not going to find a better value on HVAC or plumbing replacement systems. For me, I really am glad I'm a member of the Beehive Club. You could be as well. For $99, that's where it starts. You get 3 thorough maintenance services, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guarantee. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling at 775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair on this beautiful Friday. A beautiful, almost, this is the last day of summer, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Tomorrow is the first day, full day of fall, and so this is the last day of summer.
Fall Eve.
Yeah, that's right. It's Fall Eve. That's right. And, I've always, they used to call it Indian summer, and I'm not even sure we're allowed to do that anymore because it may be culturally inappropriate to say that. But, I like it when it's nice this time of year in the day and just a little cool at night.
I could deal with a couple of degrees cooler, honestly. But that's just me. But it is nice. I will agree.
Well, yeah, and now the leaves are starting to turn, and I was out today working in the yard, and leaves are going to be the bane of my existence. They always are. I love having a piece of property with a lot of trees on it, and I do. Yeah. But it does have its moments where that's sort of problematic. Let's see. Remember the F-35 that we lost for about 25 hours? Took off from Charleston, and apparently the pilot experienced some kind of problem. We're not sure whether he ejected or the auto-eject system of the F-35 punched him out of the plane. But then the plane, they didn't know where it was because apparently the plane was in stealth mode when it took off. It had not engaged what they call a transponder, and so it wasn't squawking and made it impossible because it's a stealth aircraft. It has the radar cross-section of a small bird. It's unbelievable, but that's true. And so even though it wasn't squawking, there was no way to track it, and they lost it for about 25 hours until they found it finally, about 60 miles from where the pilot punched out. He punched out apparently not far from the airport on takeoff. Now we have the 911 calls. And I'm going to go through some of these one by one, so you have some sense of how it goes.
Yes, sir. Just be advised, South Kenwood, we might have a military jet pilot that landed in the subject's backyard.
Kilo 940.
Unknown where the plane is possibly down at. We do not have information on that anywhere yet.
I mean, there you go. So they're sort of alerting the other officers in the area that we got a problem here, and it's because they got a 911 call like this.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
It says that. Yeah. You just want me to tell him you got ejected?
I will get my back for a little bit, but
I guess we got a pilot at our house, and he says he got ejected. Well, he ejected from the plane, so. Yeah. We just see if we could get some ambulance, please.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We got
I mean, I can almost, it's not probably a call that a 911 operator gets every day, but she seems a little confused.
A pilot in the house, and I guess he landed in my backyard, and we were trying to see if we could get a ambulance to the house, please.
And then she said, well, hold on for a minute, and she's trying to process all this.
We had a military jet crash. I'm the pilot. We need to get rescue rolling. I'm not sure where the airplane is.
Can you imagine that? You're the pilot of the aircraft. You have been ejected from the aircraft, or you punched out of the aircraft, one or the other. We're not real clear on this. He's not real clear on it. And he has no idea where the aircraft is. He lost sight of it.
It would have crash landed somewhere. I ejected.
See, he says, I ejected. He didn't say the plane ejected me. It said, I ejected. And that's a question.
Okay. I understand, sir. Okay, just to confirm, how many people are hurt?
Well, I'm the only one. I'm not sure about my wingman.
Okay.
This poor 911 operator, she doesn't seem to know what quite to do.
How far did he fall?
I was at 2,000 feet.
Okay.
2,000 feet, which means he was barely off the runway when he took off and he punched out.
Okay, and what caused the fall?
What caused the fall?
An aircraft failure.
Okay.
An aircraft failure. See, now he's not saying I ejected. He said, I ejected, but now he's saying it's an aircraft failure.
Okay, is there any serious bleeding?
I don't know. I can't see myself.
I don't know. I can't see myself.
No, you look fine. Just a couple scratches.
You look fine. Couple scratches.
What did the other person say?
I feel okay. My back just hurts. Has there been a report of an airplane crash?
Yeah, he's still trying to figure out what happened to the airplane. I mean, if you're the pilot and you're landing in somebody's backyard, maybe your back is hurting a little bit, but you want to know what happened to the aircraft. Where did it go? I mean, I can understand that.
I have not seen any come up yet. Okay, what part of the body was injured?
Again,
you
she's
can
going
tell
through
there's no chapter in the 911 operator's handbook to cover this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm a pilot in a military aircraft, and I ejected, so I just rode a parachute down to the ground.
She seems, well, hold it. I don't have a page for that.
Can you please send an ambulance?
Yes, sir. I've already told you they're on their way. I'm just required to ask these questions while they're en route.
Wow. So here's from the New York Post. The pilot that ejected from a 100, and it was not an 80, it's a $100 million F-35 fighter jet. This variant costs more because it can take off vertically. He's unsure of where his plane crashed. He said he just lost it in the weather. The unidentified pilot landed in a North Charleston residential neighborhood and was taken to the local hospital for treatment. He's been released, of course. He sounds like he was okay. Military officials have not yet released the specific reason for the pilot's hasty exit, only referring to the incident as stemming from, quote-unquote, a malfunction. Longtime military aviation expert and consultant Richard Abulafia told the Post the pilot was likely operating the stealth fighter without any tracking capabilities activated and ejected before he could do so. If you turned on the onboard device, it would be easily trackable. But this is a stealth aircraft, and if you don't turn on that particular device, it's going to be hard to track. Most likely he or she, that's a he, did not have a lot of time to react. Military officials were embarrassingly had to ask the public, if you happen to see our F-35, could you please, let us know where it is. We seem to have lost a $100 million aircraft. It's unusual, but what's the harm? The onboard device has not been turned on, so it's not being tracked. And then they go on to talk about how it eventually was found some 60 miles from where this happened. And local residents said they heard an ear-piercing screech before a massive boom that shook their home. I
said, what in the world is this?
That'll never not be funny. That is so good.
Well, I mean, what did it sound like? That's what the first question a reporter's going to ask.
I said, what in the world is this?
Well, anyway, that has happened. Here's another one, another story of it. You've heard it all. I mean, hearing the sound really tells the story, doesn't it? I mean, you got a guy, he's just taken off from the Charleston airport. For one reason or another, whether either he calls it a malfunction of the aircraft or that he necessitated, because there was a malfunction of the aircraft, he made a determination to punch out. But if there was a malfunction in the aircraft, how did it fly another 60 miles? I mean, that's the question. It flew 60 miles because it was apparently on autopilot. And if it was on autopilot and you've just taken off, ideally, you probably have a full tank of fuel. So why didn't it fly further than 60 miles? I mean, there's so many questions to be asked about all this. But, I'm glad to know the pilot's okay. I'm glad that the F-35 landed in a place where nobody was hurt. I do have questions about why it took 25 hours to track it down. Seems like the heading. All you got to do is get in an aircraft and fly that heading, and you should come across it. But that took apparently 25 hours to find it. But I think the real question is going to be, is it a malfunction of the aircraft? Because we've been told it has this particular variant, because it takes off vertically and can do that sort of jump jet thing. It has a different kind of ejection system than the F-35s that are flown by the Air Force and the Navy. This is a Marine. F-35, a more expensive variant, and because it had that, it has apparently the ability to make a decision without input from the pilot to eject if it determines that we're out of flight parameters here, something's not right, we're about to crash. Let's save the pilot, because if the pilot is in hover mode, I don't think that pilot's in a good position to let go of the controls to start hitting the eject button. So it has an auto eject system in it. I'm telling you, it's one of the weirdest stories ever. And we hear the pilot, talk about how I ejected, and then he also then says it was a aircraft malfunction. So which of those two things is true? Or maybe both of them are. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you, and it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
The latest on the United Auto Workers strike and its effect so far in Tennessee. A shooting in the volunteer state, some more Haiti aid on the way, and the man who shot that dog in a Tennessee park may face charges after all. Those stories and more coming up at 4 right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that strike. It has widened. The United Auto Workers on Friday sent another 5,600 members out on strike and GM and Chrysler plants. Apparently, Ford was spared in the widening. According to Sean Fain, who speaks on behalf of the United Auto Workers, Ford sweetened its offer in recent days, and the union wanted to recognize that the company was serious about reaching a deal. At GM and Stellantis, he says it's a different story. We did actually track down whether or not this has impacted the Spring Hill facility for GM. And, Chris, you've got some information on the super text line.
Yeah, thanks to our super texters that provided this for us. The Memphis AC Delco Parts Distribution Center joined the strike this morning. Apparently at around 11 a.m. they started walking out there. And then also did get a text from an employee at the Spring Hill GM factory who said that they will not be affected by the closure of the parts plant in Memphis. So they are not part of the strike.
All right. Well, that's good news. And it is going to, they say this is going to have a real impact on the economy if it goes much longer. I read where just now, a few moments ago, it was announced out of the White House that President Biden will be going to Michigan to meet with the union workers who are on strike. But, quite frankly, the union workers look at the Biden administration as part of the problem because they're pushing the electric vehicles, which could actually result in a lot of jobs being lost at these major plants because it doesn't take as many people to build an electric vehicle as it does to build a gas-powered vehicle. So, again, this strike is worth watching because it could have a real major impact on the economy. Now, looking at oil prices right now, West Texas Intermediate about $90 a barrel. Brent crude coming in at 93. A lot of the analysts say it's headed to about $100 a barrel, which means higher oil and gas prices and diesel prices may be in your future. The Dow today down 107. The S&P down at just about 10. NASDAQ down 12. So all indices are showing red today. With more on what's going on with the markets and some analysis, here's John Maxon from Beacon Capital Management.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Brian, today finished the worst sell-off we've seen in the market since March. And it really comes from the message of the Fed that they see additional rate hikes as being very possible and then leaving those rates, for up higher for a longer period of time. And the market doesn't like that. In fact, 12 of 19 of the officials currently favor at least one more rate increase this year. And, that's really impacting the consumer. And then we talked about this all week. To your point, the market was down today, but crude oil was back up at 0.8, so just about 1%. So if that hits $100 a barrel, that's really going to be a big deal for the economy. So not a great week in the market. Next week, we see consumer confidence and revised GDP, a couple of reports to keep an eye on.
All right, and find out more about all the things that they can do over at Beacon Capital Management by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. And speaking of which, how are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon will ask you a few questions. They ask you to give you some information, and then they're off to the races. You have nothing to lose except for all the worry. Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. Again, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more at askbeaconnow.com.
4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 86 degrees and a sunny weekend with similar temperatures to this week. High 70s, mid 80s. Complete weather and traffic report in 5 minutes. The United Auto Workers Union ramped up its nationwide strike today to include more than 36 new locations. The move affects more than 5,000 workers, including a few dozen in Reno, Nevada. Greg Neft is there.
And they say they're not bluffing about that.
We told our members to prepare early on, so they knew it was coming. We're still getting strike benefits.
Local UAW head Karina Rizala is among the 50 or so workers at a GM Parts Center in Reno walking the picket line. Their goals, they say, are simple.
Fighting for fair wages, a livable wage.
And orders to walk, she says, came straight from the top.
UAW leadership, President Fain, had a Facebook Live.
And here in the mid-state, Memphis AC Delco Parts Distribution Center has been closed down due to the strike, and picketing lines have been ongoing there since 11 this morning. And here in Middle Tennessee, the Spring Hill plant has not yet been affected. Crime in Tennessee, police investigating after a woman was hit inside of her apartment this morning by gunshots. The shooting happened off of Skyline Ridge Drive. Someone knocked on the woman's door, prompting her to get up and see what it was. And that's when someone fired the shots through the window and hit her in the thigh. Metro detectives are trying to identify a suspect right now. They know that they had a dark-colored hoodie on. And the United States pledges more aid to combat the lawlessness on Haiti. Here's Tom Rivers.
Secretary of State Blinken says the U.S. will provide millions more in financial and security aid, and he thanked Kenya for being willing to send in up to 1,000 police.
We support Kenya's vision for a three-part security mission, providing operational support to the Haitian National Police to combat the gangs, ensuring static security of key installations and thoroughfares, and strengthening the Haitian National Police for the long term.
Blinken is also calling on the Security Council to pass a resolution soon authorizing a security mission to the country.
And right now in Nashville, the case of a man shooting and killing a dog at Percy Warner Park may not be over. At first, police said there would be no charges pressed, but News 2 says members of the Davidson County Prosecutor's Office alongside police toured the scene yesterday, and officers began to ask questions. News 2 says it reached out to police about the prosecutor's presence at the park yesterday, and we're told that the case is still open. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It's 6 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. We're into already we're into hour number 2 of the drive, where we got a lot of good stuff scheduled to talk about. And of course at 4:35, because it's Friday, we'll have a rousing edition of Fone Ur Farb Friday, where anything is game within boundaries, because it is a family show. So get your best question or your best comment ready at 4:35. I want to talk about the situation on the border. It is just really deteriorating. We've been talking about how Bill Malusian's been doing such great reporting down on the border in Eagle Pass, Texas. Griff Jenkins is there today.
And this won't come as welcome news to the White House, but CBP sources confirmed to Fox News just moments ago that the total number of migrant encounters this fiscal year 2023 have surpassed last year's record-breaking numbers. Take a look here. You see so far this fiscal year, and there's 8 days left in this fiscal year, 2,388,350 plus compared to that 2,378,000 from last year that shattered the records, more than 10,000, and you're getting upwards of 9,000 a day. Let's take a look at the video we saw yesterday all day long here at Ground Zero across the entire southwest border. Sources telling Fox News there were more than 9,900 encounters yesterday. Just part of why agents here are telling us off camera it's showing no signs of slowing down.
So more illegal migrants have come through the border pass and have had contact with the Border Patrol this year than last by about 10,000, with 8 days left in the fiscal year. So, it will be broken, and it's really gotten bad in the last few days. Really, really bad. 10,000 a day coming across. The mayor of Eagle Pass is a man by the name of Rolando Salinas. Yes, I rolled my R. Rolando Salinas.
The president bears some of the responsibility for the crisis in your city.
I'll be honest with you, I believe 100% he does bear some responsibility for this crisis. I haven't heard from anybody in the administration. The president hasn't put out a statement. The vice president, I haven't heard from anybody. Nobody has bothered to call me, anyone in the city staff, saying, hey, this is the federal government. We know what you're going through. We're worried about you. This is our plan of action. Nothing. We're here abandoned. We're on the border. We're asking for help. This is unacceptable. Please, just enforce the laws that are on the books. We're a nation of laws. That's all I ask for, is that it shouldn't be like this. We should be able to enforce laws. If you want to come here, good, come legally. A lot of people have in the past. It takes a lot of money and years to do it the right way, and it's not fair for those people that now you have thousands of people coming in without one single consequence. It's just not fair. What's disappointing is that you have all these thousands of people just walking in without any consequence whatsoever. So the word is getting out. It's kind of a come one, come all type of approach, and you have all these people coming. There is no consequence, and I just want to say that I think that this is unacceptable.
That is a Democrat mayor, Rolando Salinas. And by the way, when you roll your R's like that, it's called we checked it out. We were curious about it. The alveolar trill.
It's easy for you to say.
No, it's not. Actually, it was very hard for me to say alveolar. And when I took Spanish classes in Texas years ago, they would teach us about how to do that. And it I always thought when a non-Spanish speaker did it, it's sort of showing off, and I guess it really is. But it apparently you do the alveolar trill if you're starting a word that begins with an R.
Gotcha.
So, since his name is Rolando, it comes to Rolando.
Rolando.
Yeah. Write that down. Walk into dinner tonight and start talking about the alveolar trill. That'll be good. Now, you remember yesterday in the White House briefing room, Peter Doocy tried to, it was a great question. He started out by asking, what do you call it when 10,000 people come across the border in a given day? And Karine Jean-Pierre tried to answer his question with a question, which is, let me just tell you, that is so wrong. It is not the job of the reporter to answer questions. It is the job of the person who is talking on behalf of the administration in this particular case to answer the question without a question. Reporters don't answer questions. News sources do. Reporters ask questions. When he tried to stop her, it devolved very quickly, and it sounded a little bit like this.
So what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't. I'm answering. Okay, we're gonna move
You're
on.
answering
No,
a question with a question? Okay.
we're moving on.
Kareem,
Moving.
please.
In the back. Go ahead.
You said you were
Go
stopping
ahead,
the flow at the border.
No. I tried to
10,000
answer, Peter.
Okay.
I tried to answer the question. You stopped me. Let's go.
That's about one of the rudest exchanges I've ever witnessed out of the White House briefing room. Really rude. Out of line. She was completely out of line. It was a fair question. She didn't really want to answer the question, but apparently they had a phone call and sorted it all out. And today, Ducey tried again.
What do you call it when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So here's what I will say, and you heard me say this a couple times, and I'll say it again because it is the facts. On day one, the first day of this president's administration, he put forth a comprehensive immigration reform that we believe that was desperately needed for this country. Right? As we know, and you've heard us say this many times before, we are dealing with a broken system.
Well, hold on. That doesn't make any sense at all. She says we were dealing with a broken system. Well, it wasn't broken when Donald Trump was the president. We had a secure border. We did not have this problem. When I went down to the border, and I've been there twice, I talked to people down there, and what they told me was, as soon as Joe Biden was elected, even before he took the oath of office, this started to ramp up. That it was very clearly thought in Mexico and Central America and South America that the Biden administration would look kindly on people who crossed the border in a way that the Trump administration had not. It began even before Joe Biden took the oath of office. And then Biden put in all these policies that prohibited the Border Patrol from doing its job. So it wasn't broken under Trump. It got broken under Biden. So that's, I'm sorry, but you know what that is? That's what that is. And it's also... And for her to bring that out is maybe just a little, but I'll let her continue.
And no action was taken from Congress. And so what the president was able to do, he imposed consequences for those who do not have the legal basis to remain.
What consequences? What consequences are in place? In fact, all the reporters, and by the way, it's not just Fox now. CNN has got people down there. Everybody's got people down there. It's becoming a major topic in the briefing room. Everybody's asking questions, and look, there are no consequences. That's what all the reporters and all the observers down there say. You just heard the mayor of Eagle Pass say the same thing, and he's a Democrat.
And he has removed more than 250,000 individuals. This administration has done so since May 12th.
Okay, if you say so. I'm telling you, 250,000 when you're talking about millions that are coming across illegally, even if you can convince me that's an accurate number, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what our people who are coming in. By some estimates, since Joe Biden took the oath of office, 7 million people have come in. 1.7 million people came into this country as gotaways, and we don't know anything about them. Again, Peter Ducey, thank you for asking the question again. We didn't get much of an answer from Karine Jean-Pierre, but she was asked other questions about the 10,000 migrants that are coming across every single day.
When you spoke last month,
Yeah.
and you said, we are stopping the flow at the border. Is 10,000 migrants in a single day stopping the flow?
What I will say is, I just mentioned 250 individuals have been...
She said 250. She meant 250,000.
have been stopped who do not have the legal pathway from coming in. That has been since May 12th. And as we are, looking at Eagle Pass, and I know this is where
Stab, jab,
kind of
jab.
the issue is at the time at the moment. CBP quickly surged resources and personnel to the area, and thanks to their great work, we're able to swiftly vetted and processed into custody more than 2,500 individuals and cleared the area where migrants had congregated.
Why did they clear the area where the migrants had congregated? Because they didn't like the picture. Otherwise, they don't give a rat's you-know-what. They don't care. But they don't like the picture, and that's why they clearly went down to that bridge and got everybody out of there so the picture would go away.
And that's the work of our law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's the work of our law enforcement at the border. Remember, House Republicans are trying to cut that. They're trying to cut that.
Do you know what got cut? The barbed wire that was put up, the razor wire that was put up by the state of Texas. That's right. Federal officials took it upon themselves with a pair of wire cutters to go in and cut the razor wire that the state of Texas had put in place. That's what got cut, if you want to know the truth about it. Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, told Newsmax on Thursday the Biden administration offering work permits to almost 500,000 Venezuelan means that another million will come. Graham told Wake Up America on Newsmax that the United States has completely lost control of the southern border. How smart do you have to be to figure out what will happen next? If you give 470,000 Venezuelans work permits, you're going to get another million to come. People will be attracted by the move. He went on to say in the supplemental sent to Congress to help with emergencies, you know what the Biden administration did on border security? They defunded ICE. The enforcement part of immigration. They took money from ICE, and we're going to put it into community shelters, which means more space for illegal immigrants. Graham says the Biden administration has done everything but take an ad out for the world. Come to America. If you get here, you'll never have to leave. These people are either incompetent or they're doing it on purpose. I think both. I think they're doing it on purpose, says Graham. What a mess. In Chicago, a sanctuary city, they have signed a $30 million contract to build winterized tent camps for migrants. A $29.4 million contract with a private security firm to move newly arrived illegal immigrants to massive winterized camps with tents. Chicago is facing a migrant. They got about... They had about 13,500 that arrived recently, and they've already spent, they say, $250 million on the issue. Mayor Brandon Johnson detailed his plan for a massive migrant tents early this month. They will be like yurt structures that would fit 12 cots. Each would have fire extinguishers, portable restrooms, makeshift kitchens would be set up nearby. The tents will also reportedly have laundries, 3 meals a day, security all day child care, and transportation to doctor's appointments. Well, I'm telling you. Why wouldn't you come to America? A lot of these folks, God bless them, didn't have that kind of life where they were. Now they got housing, 3 squares a day, all day child care, a laundry? My goodness. Well, it's good to be a migrant coming to America in Biden's America. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Something awesome happening at Genesis Diamonds today through Sunday. You've been hearing about this. It's big. It's a 3-day designer engagement ring event showcasing the world's top 2 brands in bridal jewelry. Tacori and Verragio. Tacori from California, Verragio from New York, both with their entire lines, including all new rings for this special event. you can explore hundreds of exquisite American-made designer rings. Plus, Genesis has special incentives, zero interest financing, and up to $5,000 in instant savings. In addition, Genesis has an expanded selection of GIA-certified diamonds for the 3-day event. All shapes, all sizes, rock-bottom prices on the rock you want. This is the best of the best. Every Tacori ring handcrafted by master artisans with exceptional quality. Every Veragio ring made by hand with unmatched attention to detail. These are brands that other jewelers only wish they could offer, but at Genesis, they have the entire Tacori and Veragio collections, and they'll be on display starting today. It's going on right now. Don't miss the bridal jewelry event of the year, today, Saturday, and Sunday at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
A new prevention office in the White House, a look at the immigration crisis in the United States, and today's money news. Those stories coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Moore here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And you know you will want to come back no matter what you're doing at 525 for Appointment Radio now, we're calling it. Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports, only here on The Drive. And I'm telling you, I'm excited about your last week, in your analysis of the Titan game, you missed the score by 1 point.
It was so close.
So close. And you talked about how evenly matched the two teams were, and they truly were. And so I'm anxious to hear your assessment of how the Titans will look on Sunday. So we'll do that at 5:25. I want to remind you that at 4:35 and 5:35 we do Fone Ur Farb Friday on Friday. So if you have something you want to say, get your thoughts together. We want you to have good, strong, coherent ideas or questions or whatever it is you want to do within boundaries, because it is a family show. And let's see. Oh, also a special programming note. Next Tuesday, it is. Tuesday at 4:35, we'll be joined by Congressman Tim Burchett. He is trying to get answers to the questions that we all want to know. Is the truth really out there? Because, he is in charge of the congressional investigation into UFOs and UAPs, and he's been frustrated because he feels like the Pentagon is not giving him the answers that he wants. But everybody acknowledges that, even the Pentagon will acknowledge, there are certain things going on out there, certain incursions into our most sensitive airspaces at times by these craft that just seem to defy the law of physics. Nobody knows exactly what they are. And so we'll talk to Congressman Tim Burchett at 4:35 on Tuesday. I hope that you don't miss that. It'll be a really good interview. Now, let's move over to our election 2024 update. We love to give you an update on things. And here's a guy that I think is really bright. I don't know him. I never met him. Wouldn't know him if he walked in the door. His name is Mark Lewis. He writes for townhall.com. And here's what he says. I've been arguing for months that Joe Biden will be the Democrat nominee for president next year. I've based that to a great extent on historical precedent. There hasn't been another since the 1880s that a political party has refused to renominate a sitting president who wanted to run again. LBJ declined to run in 68, but if the sitting president wanted a second term in office, no matter how inept he had been, talking here about Jimmy Carter, he got the party's nomination. And so here Mark Lewis says, based on that precedent, I have argued that Biden will be the Democrat nominee. But candidly, history can only tell us about what has happened. It cannot tell us what will happen. He says, I'm wrong. I'm changing my mind. He doesn't think that Biden will become the nominee. I'm suggesting here that Democrats will dump Biden for one reason or another when it comes to elections. Democrats are not stupid. This guy says they are evil, wicked, perverted, venal thieves, liars, and cheats, but they're not stupid. They know how to win. Republicans, both in the party machine and the rank and file, are largely clueless about how to gain and hold political power, but power is the only reason the Democrats live. To have it, to keep it, and to exercise it over you is the reason that they exist. Biden has been extremely incompetent, but so the guy goes on to say, he is old, he's decrepit, and they will dump him like a bad habit. Is then my paraphrasing of what he says. Well, I mean, this is what I've been saying. I don't know exactly how it's all going to play out, but I don't believe that Biden will be nominated. And this sort of maybe a sign of things to come. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson, an African American leader of what I think is sort of a bluish city. The city is blue, but I mean the rest of the state is red, sort of like Nashville, He has switched to the GOP. He's leaving the Democrat Party, and he's switching to the GOP. He's been really, really tough on crime, and crime has gone down there dramatically just by enforcing the laws. And he says American cities need Republicans, and he has left the Democrat Party to become a Republican. It is now 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 85 degrees right now in Nashville, and a sunny, good weather weekend ahead as fall starts tomorrow. Full weather forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. President Biden today announced a new White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Details from Andy Field.
The president's Gun Violence Prevention Department aims to help victims, give local governments help passing tougher laws, and coordinate enforcing the gun laws already in place.
Folks, to be clear, none of these steps alone is going to solve the entirety of the gun violence epidemic. None of them. But together, they will save lives.
The president also urging voters to elect politicians who will pass tougher gun laws.
Immigration crisis. The Washington Examiner says Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will travel to the southern U.S. border in Texas amid the current surge of people trying to get into the United States. It comes after daily encounters of migrants this week trying to enter illegally topped 10,000 and showed no signs of slowing down. Mayorkas will travel to the Rio Grande Valley of southeast Texas and be joined by a foreign dignitary, Honduran President Xiomara Castro. Now over to the money news. Daria Albinger.
The worst week in 6 months for the markets has come to a close with more losses. The Dow gave up 107 points, and Nasdaq fell 12, and the S&P closed down 10. Stocks slid this week on worries that interest rates likely won't come down much anytime soon. That's despite the Federal Reserve's decision to leave them unchanged for now. The United Auto Workers strike is growing. A week into the union's historic action against Detroit's Big Three, the UAW walked down on dozens of additional General Motors and Stellantis factories across 20 states. Stellantis is the parent company of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. At least for now, though, the union says it won't expand its strike against Ford, saying talks are showing progress. British regulators may be ready to sign off on Microsoft's restructured $69 billion deal to buy video game maker Activision Blizzard.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
United Structural Systems, they're the company you want to call if you have a waterproofing, a foundation issue, you see cracking bricks, you see sinking, sloping sidewalks. Listen, they're the folks you want. 25,000 satisfied residential customers. And here's what happens. They come out to your house, they take a look at what you got going on, and they make an assessment. And they give you their best advice. They're not going to try to sell you something you don't need. They just want to solve your problem. And then, if you decide to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you are completely satisfied. And there are many satisfied customers. Listen to what ME said. USS is my go-to vendor for everything related to foundation concerns and repairs. Here's Chris. The crew that worked on our house has been top-notch. I appreciate the integrity, the speed of feedback, the quality of work. Jerry, this is the best crew we have ever had do work on our house. Constance, excellent experience. I mean, this is the kind of raving reviews that they get because they really do solve your problems. Guaranteeing the best at USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com. Here's the number, 615-488-7855. It's 37 minutes past the hour. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive. And we have reached that point on our Friday show, my favorite part of the week, where we open up the phone lines for something we call Fone Ur Farb Friday. That's the number, is 615-737-9986. You know how this works. We open up the phone lines, and any topic that you want to talk about within boundaries, it's a family show. Maybe you have a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you have a burr under your saddle, or maybe you have a bug in a place where, quite frankly, you really don't want to have a bug. But one way or the other, you can call in, step on our 10,000, make that 100,000 watt soapbox and express yourself. Not a 10,000, it's a 100,000 watt. It's a powerhouse antenna that we have. And so 615-737-9986. Got a lot of open phone lines here on this Friday. And I know that there's some people out there who want to. Boy, just as on cue, they show up. All right, let's start with Sharon in Fayetteville. Sharon, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What's on your mind today, Sharon?
My mind is on how Biden keeps getting away with what he's doing on the border. Now, we voters, we do have a say-so. And why can't we petition Biden being arrested because he's breaking laws?
Well, that would have to come. Who's going to arrest the president of the United States? His Justice Department? They won't even go after Hunter Biden when he's clearly violated the law. So, I don't have much expectation of that. But the bottom line is this is exactly what they want. They are in favor of opening up the borders because they want to change the voting demographics of this country. And, of course, the people who come across illegally should not be able to vote. But, the Democrats are betting that somewhere down the line that they will be able to find a pathway to citizenship for all these people who are coming across. They tried to do it. And that those folks will eventually be able to vote, and they're great, and they'll be grateful to the Democrats because the Democrats allowed them to come to this country. It is for crass political reasons that this is being allowed, and it seems to me we're putting our nation at great risk for a political policy of keeping the border open and trying to change the demographics of this country. Sharon, thank you for your call. I wish I had an answer. I think the only answer we have will be in the coming election. But you know what? Even Democrats are getting pretty irritated about this now. Julie, same topic, calling in from Goodlettsville. Julie, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Julie?
Yes. Hi, Brian. I was calling in because I was listening to the show this morning. And I think it was Chris's show. It could have been the one before that. But a man called in, very articulate, spoke very well, and he said he met a guy that was from Cuba that came over here in January, and that he showed him his Social Security card that he had been issued, a revolving debit card where he can get money, all the time. He said there was numerous things in that bag, and he said he wouldn't doubt if there wasn't a voter registration card in there. Now, isn't that interesting?
That is interesting, and I would like to know more about that. And if anybody's got any information along those lines, get in contact with Chris, and he'll pass that message along to me. I really do appreciate the call. That's very troubling. Now you got to wonder: is it a fake Social Security card or one that has actually been issued? I don't know, but boy, I'll tell you what, I don't like that. I don't like that a bit. Bob, out on the road, same topic. He wants to talk about this. Bob, you're on with Brian on the Drive. Bob, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Brian. Same thing's been on my mind since all this crap started. Like that lady just said, the people coming over the border are getting free stuff, getting money, and we've got people starving to death in our country. Why? What would be wrong with America finally getting pissed off enough to go into the border and defend our damn country.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that I'm not going to suggest that anybody do anything illegal, but I would say that I think the frustration about this issue is so great that may come to that. It may come down to that. We owe Governor Abbott of Texas a great deal, and the people of Texas who are paying for all this stuff for trying to keep the borders under control. We really owe them a lot because it's the job of the federal government to do this, not the state government. But when the federal government doesn't do what it's supposed to do, what are you supposed to stand by and watch it happen and watch your cities become overrun? It is such a maddening and frustrating thing. It truly is. I think frustration is really growing quite great about this. One of the things was that a lot of people had not been hearing about this because, CNN and MSNBC and the big three, they don't devote any time at all to this story. It's been Fox News mostly until recently. And so I think people are getting, and in the blue cities, it's becoming an issue. I guess that's when you get the big three networks and CNN to join in, when it starts impacting their cities and places where they live. Oh, well, now it's a story, isn't it? It makes me so mad about how the media has not covered this story in such a big way when it is perhaps one of the worst things that has happened to this country in our lifetimes. Kimberly in Sparta. Kimberly in Sparta, what's on your mind today? You're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hey, Brian. Yes, I was thinking about that F-35. I used to program flight simulators for the F-18s, and it's very odd that he was at 2,000 feet. I'm really curious about why he was at 2,000 feet. But if he had a multiple system failure, like hydraulics is what I'm thinking probably went wrong. That's why they punched out. It's very hard to control a plane with no hydraulics. You don't have flaps. You don't have nothing. And, hydraulics and battery or something. But I'm thinking, everybody's like, oh, it was 60 miles away. When you're flying 400 knots, 60 miles away from the pilot that ejected is not that far.
Yeah, you're right. And we're talking about not that great a distance. He was at 2,000 feet, as I understand it, because he had just taken off from the Charleston airport. So apparently there were two planes flying in tandem, and one of them returned immediately back to the airport, and the other F-35, the guy, he says, I ejected, and then later he said it was an aircraft malfunction. But he didn't elaborate in the phone call, so I don't know. But the reason he was at 2,000 feet is they just basically taken off from the Charleston airport. They were climbing out when he had a problem. That's my understanding.
Hydraulics.
Yeah,
I would
maybe.
say hydraulics. I'm not an expert, but that makes sense to me that because that's what I used to do is program the failures for these pilots, and they had to figure out, what to do next. Some of them are pretty quick. Others, they kind of crashed. But that was my job.
So if there was a hydraulic failure, you say that probably that would cause the pilot to say, I'm not going to go down with this plane.
Right.
Okay. All right, Kimberly.
Or a multiple system failure, like the hydraulics and something else. But it seems I'm just thinking hydraulics, but I'm not real familiar with the F-35. It's, how it works, but that's what would have happened with an F-18. And the plane doesn't eject you. You have to eject yourself.
Well, now I do have a bit of information on that. On the F-35B, this is the Marine Corps variant. There was a story the other day from the Marine Corps, the Marines, talking about how the F-35B has an auto-eject capability.
Wow.
So, yeah, the other F-35s do not. All right, thank you, Kimberly. Good discussion. Let's go to Rick in Lebanon. Rick, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Rick?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. What's on your mind today?
I was thinking of the mayor names you were trying to come up with.
Freddie O'Connell is going to be sworn into office on Monday. And, we have a fine tradition here on this program of coming up with a good nickname for our mayors, because all I really ask of the people of Nashville is that they give me a mayor who's easy to mock. and I haven't really quite come up with a good nickname for this particular mayor.
Well, I think if he's doing a good job, he's incredible. And if he's doing something a little bit wrong, maybe it's incredible. And if it's really bad, it's incredible.
Oh, you mean this one? Yeah, okay. I got you.
Yes, sir. So you can meet the needs of the situation.
That's just incredible. I like that. Well, we I haven't thought about trying to play off the actual name. That's not in our tradition, but, well, maybe we'll have to change our tradition. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Rick. That was a good, actually, we haven't really awarded anybody, the award for being really funny. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've done that. So, hey, Rick from Lebanon, you were hilarious. You're our grand prize winner today.
Tell him what he wins, Brian.
Well, he doesn't win a damn thing because we don't have any budget for that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, you get a hearty handshake, a pat on the back, and attaboy from us here on The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
All right, we'll stop there. How about, let's see. Okay. How about let's get Adam in Nashville. Adam, real quick, you're on with Brian on The Drive. What's on your mind, Adam?
Hey, I was just wondering, has anyone done the math for the ratio between the illegal immigrants and the U.S. citizens? I mean, at what point do they have enough of an army to turn us over?
I haven't done that. I mean, it's, the number that gets tossed around is 7 million since Biden took office. Roughly 7 million people, which is, I'm pretty sure that's much bigger than the city of Nashville. It's bigger than many states.
I think Tennessee is right at 7 million, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so there's a lot of states. Yeah, good point. All right. Well, we got to leave it right there. But hey, if you didn't get through, don't be afraid to come back at 5:35 when we do second round of Fone Ur Farb Friday. It's now 50 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. There are a lot of diagnoses out there, and there's a pill for everything, but not all diagnoses are accurate, and not all pills are good for you. Hey, it's Brian Wilson, and when you get a diagnosis for European auto repair, why don't you get a second opinion before you make a major decision? Eurofix is the home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis you got somewhere else, why don't you go to Eurofix? It could not only save your vehicle's life, but could actually save you from the stress and spending a lot of money you don't need to spend. Life's too short to get stressed out and angry. Be happy and go to Eurofix. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. no kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
A new Office of Prevention in the White House dedicated to combating gun violence. A missing woman from Clarksville, the latest on the F-35 jet that went missing and was found in a field. And crime in the state. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, if you haven't heard, a Democrat senator by the name of Bob Menendez has been indicted on bribery charges out of New Jersey. Actually, the indictments were handed up from the Southern District of New York, and you're not going to believe what they found when they raided his house. We'll have that story. And, of course, you don't want to miss Appointment Radio. Mac Morey's wide world of sports will look at the upcoming Titans game. And Mac, who has had an uncanny ability to give us a very, very close to the score, will give his predictions. It's all straight ahead right here on The Drive.
5 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 84 degrees, a sunny day on Music Row. Got a complete weather forecast for this weekend and the latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. President Biden today announced a new office within his administration that's dedicated to combating gun violence. Here's details from Andy Field.
The president highlighting a statistic that moved him to create the Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
I never thought I'd even remotely say this in my whole career. Guns are the number one killer of children in America.
More than car accidents, cancer, and other diseases, the president's new Gun Violence Clearinghouse aims to help lawmakers and victims find the resources they need to pass laws to help stop it.
And Biden said the new office aims to coordinate more support for survivors, families, and communities affected by gun violence, including mental health care, financial assistance, and the same way that FEMA responds to natural disasters. And this just in from Channel 4, 40-year-old Julie Robinson of Clarksville has been declared missing. She was last seen at her house on Tuesday, September 19th. Robinson's 5'3", weighs around 150 pounds, has purple hair and blue eyes. And a newly released 911 call reveals the bizarre circumstances after an F-35 fighter jet went missing in South Carolina. The stealth fighter jet crashed Sunday after a malfunction forced the pilot to eject near Charleston, but that jet kept flying, crashing in a rural area about 60 miles away. Here's Andrew Dimberg.
I just rode a parachute down to the ground. Can you please send an ambulance?
Officials finally found wreckage from the $100 million jet more than 24 hours later. Experts say the F-35 is designed to erase all communication when a pilot ejects to protect the pilot's location and the jet's classified systems, which explains why it could not be tracked on radar. The Pentagon has said it plans to spend $1.7 trillion on more than 2,000 F-35s. But a new report questions what taxpayers are getting for all that money. A government watchdog found F-35s are available to fly only 55% of the time because of so many maintenance issues.
And right now in Middle Tennessee, 36-year-old Tomas Cristobal Calo Aurelio has been arrested for statutory rape of a runaway juvenile. Police were trying to find this runaway teen when the victim's guardian told officials that she was at her boyfriend's house and that he was an older man. Calo Aurelio confirmed to police that he was with her girlfriend, while the victim said that she was with her uncle. Calo Aurelio admitted to having sex with her at least 2 separate times. She was 13 years old. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 6 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock, hour number 3 of the drive on this Friday. Gorgeous day in the lower 80s today, and just looked like we got a nice stretch of weather. Today is, in case you missed it, the last full day of summer. I mean, I always try to bring you the moon news and the passings of the seasons. I feel like it's an important part of my job. So no, this is the last day of summer. And then we begin fall tomorrow.
I was trying to see what time. Usually they say it's a specific time.
Yeah.
It doesn't say.
Well, anyway, we are moving in. Tomorrow's the first full day of fall, and this is I think just the best time of year. I love the pleasant afternoons and the air having just a little coolness to it. Before long it'll be really too cold, and before long I'll be complaining about how many leaves there are in my pool. But we get past all that. We'll wait on that. As my mother said, don't go borrowing trouble, Brian. Don't be looking for things to complain about. So I won't. I will tell you, I want to complain a little bit about what's happening in the swamp. Bob Menendez, he's the senior senator from the state of New Jersey, and he is also the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which is a very powerful committee that has a lot to say about, where our overseas funding goes. I wish we didn't have a lot of overseas funding, but we do. And he apparently is in charge of a lot of that. And he has been indicted on bribery charges. And it came from the northern district of New York, and they held a press conference today to talk about the investigation and why they feel like they needed to bring these charges.
Today I'm announcing that my office has obtained a 3-count indictment charging Senator Robert Menendez, his wife Nadine Menendez, and 3 New Jersey businessmen, Wael Hannah, Jose Uribe, and Fred Davies, for bribery offenses. The investigation that led to these charges has been run out of the Southern District of New York. The indictment alleges that between 2018 and 2022, Senator Menendez, the senior U.S. Senator from New Jersey and the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and his wife Nadine Menendez, engaged in a corrupt relationship with Hannah, Uribe, and Davies. The indictment alleges that through that relationship, the senator and his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes in exchange for Senator Menendez using his power and influence to protect and to enrich those businessmen and to benefit the government of Egypt. The indictment alleges that Hannah, Uribe, and Davies provided bribes in the form of cash, gold, home mortgage payments, a low-show or a no-show job for Nadine Menendez, a Mercedes-Benz, and other things of value to the senator and his wife.
Wow, that's something, and I got it wrong. It was the Southern District of New York. My apologies. Over $480,000 in cash, about what is that? That's half a million. Much of it stuffed into envelopes and hidden in clothing. Wow, that's something. In closets and a safe were discovered in the home. And as I said, they found, apparently they believe some of this was payoffs came in gold, etc. He's had these kind of charges brought against him before, years ago, and he got off on a hung jury. So, this is nothing new for him, but it does sound like they have they've crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's on this investigation. FBI found gold bars in Menendez's house, money stuffed in jackets, payments they believe made toward a mortgage, compensation for a low or no-show job. You know what that is? So you pay like the spouse of someone for a job, and they either, show up on rare occasion or they don't show up at all, but they still get paid. It's a low or no-show job, and many other things of value. So that is that. We'll see how that unfolds as it goes forward. But I got to tell you, that does not sound real good. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, let's talk about the United States Senate and its fight over dress code. This is really all about John Fetterman. John Fetterman is the senator from Pennsylvania who apparently had a stroke, and he has difficulty trying to understand the spoken word. And he has a sort of an iPad that he carries around with him that prints out so he can read the things that are being said to him, and that's how he carries on a conversation. He has struggled, and many people wondered if he was up to the task. Perhaps he's best known for the fact that he now apparently can go on the floor of the United States Senate wearing shorts, a sweaty, a hoodie, I guess you call it, and tennis shoes, no socks. He presided over the United States Senate wearing shorts and a hoodie and tennis shoes with no socks. I mean, at least put on a pair of socks. What does this guy think he is? Does he think he's a radio talk show host or something? Come on. Dress a little better.
No socks. That's just
no
weird.
socks. That's just the worst. I mean, the only time that you're not supposed to wear socks is when you're wearing flip-flops.
That's right.
As I am at this very moment, without the socks. But so he's all upset about he said it apparently triggers him to have to put on a coat and tie, and so there was a remarkable thing that happened. Chuck Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate, apparently without consulting anybody said, "All right, if you want to show up on the floor of the Senate wearing your hoodie, that's fine. Senators can decide for themselves what they will wear." And I'm not going to enforce the dress code any longer. And boy, just about everybody in the Senate, except Schumer and Fetterman, think that is a bad idea, a really bad idea. And apparently Joe Manchin is circulating a petition that might turn into a vote on the floor of the Senate to reinstate a dress code. It never was really part of the written rules. It was apparently just a long-standing tradition that was enforced by the sergeant at arms, but never written down anywhere. So, now apparently I think the entire Senate is going to rebuke the majority leader of the Senate and reinstate a dress code. And poor John Fetterman. I will say that when you listen to him talk now, he's doing better. I mean, I guess the therapy is having some effect, and he is able to communicate better. I mean, there were times when he would make nonsensical statements and nobody could understand what he was saying. But now he seems to be able to at least put a couple of sentences together. But he's very emotional about how he has been picked on by the mean old Republicans.
Yeah, I had a stroke about 18 months ago, and I have lost my ability to fully process language. And I like to think I was an empathetic person, truly. But until that happened, I've raised to a whole different kind of level as well. And it's profound to know, though, that I never really considered that without this kind of technology, I couldn't watch television. And I can't imagine if I didn't have this kind of a bridge to allow me to communicate with other people effectively. And because I live in a political environment, I was ridiculed and made fun of because I wasn't able to process things sometimes or say things. So I'm so sorry that I'm sure many of you had to go through this kind of thing.
And so he's in the middle of a hearing, and he sort of gets all teary and emotional. Okay. Well, here's Dick Durbin, my sworn enemy for life. The Democrat congressman from Illinois is now says he disagrees with Schumer. It's a rare thing for the number 2 Democrat to challenge the majority leader on anything, but he says, no. He said, the senator in question from Pennsylvania is a personal friend of mine, but I think we need to have standards when it comes to what we're wearing on the floor of the Senate. And we're in the process of discussing that right now as to what those standards will be. Manchin, as I said, passing around a letter asking that they reinstate some kind of dress code. 44 Republicans. This comes after Senator John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana, sent Schumer a letter on Wednesday that he, Rick Scott, and 44 other Republicans, that's 46 Republican senators signed, demanding the majority leader reconsider the decision. Fetterman has offered to wear a suit if Republicans avoid a government shutdown. He did so through some colorful language, however, with an official statement referring to members from across the aisle. Can I say this word? I don't know if I can say this word. Maybe I'll just say, no, I can't say it.
Just spell it.
Jagoffs.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could say that, I think.
Jagoffs.
Yeah. It's kind of a colorful.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's all right.
Okay, I feel bad about saying that word. It's a family show. But anyway, what a mess. What a mess that guy is. Look, I'm sorry he had a stroke, and I'm sorry he struggles. But you know what? That doesn't give you carte blanche to show up looking like a beach bum or some kind of slob that a homeless man dress better sometimes than this guy does.
Dresses worse than Adam Sandler, for crying out loud.
Oh, well. In other news that has to come from the swamp, Biden has appointed a gun ban lobbyist to co-head something known as the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I got a great idea for the President of the United States. Follow the lead of the former Democrat, now Republican mayor of Dallas, about how to stop gun violence, because Dallas was having a problem. The new mayor comes in. He, by the way, announced today that he's leaving the Democrat Party to become a Republican. But he got a great police chief, and he gave public safety all that they needed to go out and enforce the law. And they started cracking down, and they started prosecuting, bad people who need to be behind bars. And, a remarkable thing happened. I mean, here's the perfect example of how you solve the problems of crime involving guns. Take bad people who don't follow the laws off the streets. In Dallas, it's unbelievable how much crime has dropped simply because they now enforce the law. Rudy Giuliani, when he was the mayor of New York, knew this, and he drove crime down in New York. But it's ever since the BLM movement and let's defund the police and let's not actually go out there and prosecute people and put them behind bars. That's when crime started to get out of control. There's no doubt about this. It's simple as it can be. Enforce the law. He doesn't enforce the law on the border, and he doesn't enforce the law around the country. These DAs are they're slacking off, and as an end result of all that, crime is skyrocketing in many, many places. Finally, I'll bore you all I won't give you all the boring details on this, but the Biden administration had shut down drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. They had a big sale of leases that was about to go up, and they said, nope, can't do it because we got the rice whales. And, and there's no indication whatsoever that the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico has hurt one rice whale, but there's certainly a lot of evidence that the wind turbines on the East Coast are killing whales left and right. But that's a green technology. We can't possibly shut that down, but they don't like carbon fossil-based fuels, and so they're talking about restricting the leases. A judge has said, oh no, the lease sale will go forward. 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. With the beautiful days we have left in fall before it starts to get cold, you might think about painting your house, but I'm going to tell you, don't do that. No, don't paint your house. Paint, well, I'll tell you, it'll look good for a little while, but you know what it'll do in a couple of years? It'll start to crack and chip and peel, and it won't be very long before you need to paint again. But, boy, if you rhino shield your house, you would have something that would last for 25 years, a quarter century. Rhino Shield is not paint. It's 10 times thicker than paint. It's infused with special 3M ingredients, billions of microspheres that allow the coating to expand and contract, and that's why they offer a 25-year warranty against cracking, chipping, and peeling. Clay Morris and the folks at Rhino Shield of Nashville have a great reputation. They care deeply about doing quality work. Amanda said her home turned out beautifully. They showed up on time. The crew was very professional and courteous. I had custom painting that needed to be done. They did an amazing job. Joan says the work was outstanding. The quality was top of the line, and the guys were very nice, had their ducks in a row, finished in a timely fashion, cleaned up after themselves, and incidentally left a great coating on the house. This sound like something you'd be interested in? Why don't you give Clay Morris a call at 615-474-1729. Learn more at rhinoshieldnashville.com.
A new Office of Prevention in the White House, a copious amount of Legos stolen from a Tennessee Target, and Amazon Prime making some big changes in the near future. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it is 25 minutes past the hour, and it is time for our new all-time favorite, fan favorite. It is appointment radio. It's time for Mac Murray's Wide World of Sports.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right, it's Mac Maury's Wide World of Sports, and now here is the host of our program. Well, it's Mac Maury.
Hey,
I mean, the
happy
name sort of
Friday.
gives it away, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah, you don't really. Yeah, it's not really a cliffhanger there.
no. Because it's Friday and the last opportunity we'll have to do it before the Titans play this weekend, we always like to look forward to the Titans game. So, McMorey, last week you nearly nailed it on the head. You missed the final score by only 1 point. I mean,
it was so
I know,
close.
man, so close.
I really wanted that. I really wanted that. I guess 26-23 for a win for the Titans, and they ended up winning against the LA Chargers 27-24. Very
I know,
close.
yeah.
But I had
1 point on each side.
the narrative of the matchup and things like that. I was fairly accurate on. So trying to go 2 for 2 in that way. And the Tennessee Titans are going to be playing against the Cleveland Browns this Sunday at Cleveland. And this is not the Brownies of old, the 0-16, 1-16 Browns who just laughing stock guys with brown paper bags over their heads in the stands. This is a good team with a nasty defense, physical defense, similar to the Titans. We talked about how the Chargers have similar woes and storylines, but play sort of differently. The Browns don't have a lot of similar storylines and narratives from a team, but as far as stylistically on the football field, they've got a lot of the same objectives that the Titans do. They love to run the ball. They love to play with moxie and physicality on the defensive side.
Wow, did you just throw 2 big words, moxie and physicality? Wow.
And they want to keep the ball in their hands. They like to own time with the possession, and that's with running the ball on offense. So
missing a big weapon though.
There it is, Chris. And so this Monday night football, or was it on Monday night?
Oh, Sunday.
Sunday night, yeah. Sunday night football. Cleveland Browns lost their star running back, one of the best running backs in the league. Super sad for the season. Nick Chubb, who's a Georgia Bulldog, as Weber knows. So he was one of the most fun players to watch, sort of like a Derrick Henry in aspects, and they're without him now. I mean, imagine the Titans missing King Henry. We've seen that movie before. It's not always pretty. They've got to make a lot of audibles and adjustments. The Titans can capitalize on a lot of those things. We'll start with the defense. Just get to the quarterback. The Cleveland Browns quarterback and Deshaun Watson physically looks maybe like what he was of old a few years ago, but as far as his accuracy, his decision making from within the pocket, it's been porous these past few games, to say the least. He's not what he was, and so the Tennessee Titans, with that stout front seven, can take advantage of that and maybe create a turnover or two. They didn't have one last week, so to create a turnover this week would be huge. And then you look at from the offensive side, Brian, Chris, I'll say 2 words when we're talking about our guy Ryan Tannehill. 2 words for him to succeed, and that's just been the truth his whole career. There's no ifs and buts about it. Play action. That's what Ryan Tannehill, that's where he feeds. If you can fake that handoff to the running back, get those linebackers to just suck in for half a second, that opens up his world. He's 6'5". He can stare over everyone, and if he just gets you for 1 second, he can throw that ball a million miles an hour and accurately, but sometimes it's to the wrong team. But if that play action's working,
there is that.
It's to the right team. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on this weekend. It'll be fun.
All right. Listen, I want to ask you this question because I saw this story. It says here, this is on Channel 2's website, Titans running back Derrick Henry is closing in on Earl Campbell on the Titans' all-time rushing list. He's now 97 yards shy of the number 2 spot. And they say, this is a franchise record. So this was back when Earl Campbell was playing for the Oilers down in Houston before they became the Titans. But I said, look, Henry says Earl Campbell was like one of those running backs you hear about growing up as a kid, and for my name to be mentioned with his is surreal. And that's a really gracious thing to say.
That is.
I don't know if you say the defense is pretty strong on the Browns. He may not be this game, but he's inching in on it. But the story misses one fact that I can't get the answer to by reading it. And Earl Campbell was number 2. Right now, it would seem that Derrick Henry is number 3. Who's number 1?
Let's see. I would say it's
got a couple of names that I could throw out there, but I don't know if they're.
And there it is. So it's Eddie George.
Eddie George. That was the first name that came to mind.
Eddie George with 10,009 yards. So you've got Earl Campbell, who's at 85-74, and Derrick Henry right behind him, like you said, 90-some yards behind him. So he could get in second this spot, and he may be the last running back, Derrick Henry, to be a 10,000-yard career rusher. That may never happen again. That's serious. So
wow,
it's legendary what Derrick Henry's doing for the Tennessee Titans, and hopefully it results in a win this weekend. My score prediction, I'm gonna go up and say 27 for the Titans again. 27 to, I'd say a bigger win, 27-17 at Cleveland.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, there you go. The prediction is now made, and
Place
we'll
your bets
see how.
now.
No. We don't. No wagering, please. This is for entertainment value only. All right, Mac Maury, our Wide World of Sports. Thank you very much. Now put on your news hat. It's time for the news at 5:31 on Super Talk 99.7.
5:31. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 83 degrees right now and sunny in Nashville. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. President Biden today announced a new office within his administration that's dedicated to combating gun violence. Andy Field.
The new Gun Violence Prevention Office under the president aims to consolidate all executive branch gun rulemaking, offer help to victims' families, and advise local governments how to create tougher laws.
If members of the Congress refuse to act, then we'll need to elect new members of Congress that will act.
The president's push for a national assault weapons ban won't happen until members of both parties say yes.
Shoplifting in Tennessee. Franklin police trying to find two men that are responsible for stealing thousands of dollars worth of Lego sets from a Target in Cool Springs. Officials say a total of 6 sets were stolen, which is around $1,500 worth of Legos. The men left the store in a gray Nissan Cube, and there's a cash reward being offered for anyone who might be able to identify them. And the cost of an Amazon Prime subscription is not increasing next year, but there will be a notable change to Prime Video. Brian Clark explains.
Amazon says its goal will be to have meaningfully fewer commercials on Prime Video than seen on linear TV or other streaming services. But at some point next year, you will see commercials while watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or other popular Prime shows. Company says the change is necessary to keep investing in compelling content. Amazon says customers will be notified before the ads appear and given the option to pay an extra $2.99 per month to stay ad-free.
And that is the latest news, traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. That means it's time for a thing we love here. Another edition of Fone Ur Farb Friday. You know the number, 615-737-9986. You got to be in your bonnet, got to burn your saddle, got a bug in a place where really you should never ever have a bug. Give us a call and express yourself within boundaries because it is a family show. We've got already some people stacked up, some open lines. 615-737-9986. Get ready to step up on that 100,000-watt soapbox and have your say. Let me see here. Who are we going to start with? How about Pat in Gainsboro? Pat, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Pat?
Hey, Brian, how you doing? I just want to throw out there just how dishonest the government is with their facts and figures. President Biden today said that children are killed in gun violence more than any other incident. And if you're up to the age of 18, you're considered a child in those statistics. Therefore, all the gangbangers in L.A., New Orleans, Chicago, New York are included in those numbers. Not to mention, so are all the teenage suicides. So it's bogus. Those numbers are bogus.
They absolutely are. And it's funny, I was just talking to Chris about that during the commercial break about how they throw out that number. One of the things that you always see is that, these numbers are inflated when Democrats talk about gun deaths because they do include, for example, suicides. Now, it's tragic that people commit suicide, but, I mean, if somebody is bound and determined to kill themselves, if they have a gun, they'll use it, but if they don't have a gun, they'll find another way. And so that's really not a number that should be included. And you're right. These numbers are bogus. And look, they never deal honestly on the issue of guns. And the real answer to gun violence is to take violent people off the street. And again, I mentioned the Dallas mayor has done that, and they've seen their crime rates come down dramatically. And today, by the way, the Dallas mayor said he was no longer a Democrat. He would consider himself a Republican going forward. All right, let's thank you much. Well, Pat, you make a very, very salient point. Alan in Nashville. Alan, good afternoon. You're on with Brian. What do you say, Alan?
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. What's on your mind?
Okay. A couple of weeks ago, Mike Huckabee said something that you responded to, and that was bullets to ballots. You remember that?
No, I don't remember it. It may not have been me, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, it was you. Actually, it was about a month ago. But
okay.
Actually, you put your 2 cents in on it. And really, to tell you the truth, I think what Mike Huckabee was saying was, in relation to the 2024 presidential election, that if Democrats do what they did if they do again what they did last time, they might be a civil war. Now, that's what I kind of took Mike Huckabee as saying.
Well, I'm now sort of remembering the comment. I'm sorry. I do 4 hours of radio every day, and sometimes I don't remember everything that has come across my plate. But look, I will say this about that. There is a tremendous amount of frustration and a tremendous amount of anger. And people are polarized in a way that they have never been. And we have a divided country already. It's divided into red and blue states. And if you go into a blue state, I mean, things are very different than they are in red states like they are here in Tennessee. So, look, I don't want to be talking about insurrection or some people call it secession, one way or the other. But I would agree with you that there is a great deal of anger. And that people are fed up in a way that I don't know that I've ever seen it before. So I think we are in uncharted territory in that way, uncharted waters. All right. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. How about Bill in Fairview? Bill, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind, Bill?
Hi, Brian. I'd like to know what would happen if Trump wins the nomination and between the nomination time and the election day, he's found guilty of one of those charges, one of those felonies, so he wouldn't be able to be president. What happens to the Republican ticket then? And I'll hang up and listen.
Well, that's a great question. I just said we're in uncharted territory. And when you talk about the 2024 election, it's really uncharted. I mean, on one side of the equation, you have Donald Trump, who's facing 91 indictments. If there were to be a trial and a conviction, and I don't know what would happen, but I've heard it said that, that he could serve, even if he was behind bars, he would have to be released. Now, I don't know. The constitutional lawyers smarter than me would have to, to make those decisions. I might even go to the Supreme Court, but one way or the other, there's no telling. I mean, we have one situation where a president, is facing a bunch of charges and could end up behind bars, former president, and then a current president is going to face, it seems like to me, very likely to face impeachment. And so, we've never been in a situation like that. Honestly, we're going to have to just go this day by day and find out exactly, what the solution is as we get there, because you can't predict this one. You just can't. And I gave a speech the other day, and the first thing I said was, we're in uncharted waters. We're doing things and talking about things that have never been considered in the history of this country. So, I don't have those answers. I think it's an open question, and I would imagine that the Supreme Court would be brought in at some point to make a decision about that. How about Howard in Lewisburg? Howard, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Howard?
Yes, Brian. Thanks for taking my call. I have a question about the F-35B.
Yeah.
Where is our F-35B? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a crash site. Just where is it? Have you seen it?
No, and that's one of the things that I said. Now, they said they went out and scooped up all of the parts. What I've seen was a scorched piece of earth. And we have an eyewitness. We've had some fun with this, but I mean, there was an eyewitness who heard it crash.
I said, what in the world is this?
He said there was a screeching sound, and that was his impression of the screech. So we know that something happened. But there was a missing F-35B. But you're right. When I looked at the pictures, maybe it was after the military got in there and cleaned up the mess. But all I saw was a burned piece of ground.
Yeah, with some leaves burned on some trees. There was no crater in the ground, no fuselage, no wheels, no propellers, no aircraft parts of any kind in any video that I have seen.
Yep, I agree with you.
The opinion that it did not crash. And there's no NTSB report of any investigation by the FAA or the Marines. There's no video of a crash site. What
do you think? Where do you think happened to it? What do you think happened to it?
Well, I'm probably way out there, but. It was the B version. It has vertical takeoff and landing capability.
Right, that's right.
The electronics has been reported as being having open back doors and could be hacked.
Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. I think when we heard it took 25 hours for them to locate it, I don't think it took 25 hours for them to locate it. I think they found it fairly quickly. I think they went out there and cleaned up the site because the remnants of that aircraft have classified equipment on them, and they did not want anybody having access to it. So I think they revealed it a little late. That's my theory on it, but I don't know. I'm with you. When I looked at the video, I didn't see the remnants of any aircraft. But, I guess, there'll be some speculation about that. Thank you for the call, Howard. I appreciate it. Let's go to Jerry in Murfreesboro. Jerry, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Jerry?
I was just going to say that, you had talked about uncharted waters with the election, and I think to some extent you're right, but I also think we're getting there's a lot of signs we're about ready to repeat history with 1860. I would look at that election because there's a lot of things that are very, very similar with that election right there that we're going through right now.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
all.
there's a lot of anger. You're right, Jerry. You're absolutely right. Thanks for the call, Jerry. Appreciate it. How about David in Watertown? David, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. How you doing, David?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I got a theory about John Fetterman.
Okay.
The reason he might be wearing gym shorts and a hoodie is because of the fact he can't even dress himself in a suit.
Well, I have seen him in a suit. He doesn't wear it often. And since they did away with the dress code, you don't see him in the suit anymore at all. I think that's going to get reversed. I do. I mean, when the number 2 Democrat says they were wrong to do that, and there's 2 petitions floating around, I think Schumer's going to be forced to reconsider that policy. Kathy in Spring Hill. Kathy, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Kathy?
Hi, Brian. Hey, I was calling about Zelensky at the UN. I heard Chris talking about him. He went on about Russia. But then at one point, he jumped in and started talking about climate change. And he sounded downright Barack Obama right there. And so I'm just wondering if he was being strong-armed and having to talk about climate change during that process. Do you have any input, insight into that?
No, I don't have any inside, and I had not heard those comments. I know that Zelensky's made the rounds in Washington. He was on the Hill, met with senators. He wanted to give a joint address, and the Speaker of the House shot him down and said, "Nope, we're not going to do that." Zelensky is now in Canada. He's making the rounds, I guess, before he heads back to Ukraine. But, this guy, you're right. He's not particularly a good guy. There's a lot of people who say, well, he's a dictator. He doesn't believe in democracy. And I believe those things are true. I also believe that the United States at times has partnered with people who are not good people because it met their national security interests. It'll be interesting to see, because I'm detecting that there is a movement on the Hill to stop sending money. They've been spending money, and it's been Democrats and Republicans sending that money, but they're getting the message from back home, enough is enough. We're not sending any more money to Ukraine. All right, we're all out of time, and I'm dying to know about one or two more of the calls that I had, but maybe we can catch up another time. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. EverSeal. It is a sealant for exterior wood and concrete. It's actually been around for ages, and it was used for many, many years in industrial applications, but the folks at EverSeal figured out how to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. So what will happen? Well, they will come out to your house, and they'll do a deep cleaning. They'll make sure that your wood and concrete looks as good as it possibly can. And then they will take their patented sealant, and they'll apply it, and it will absorb all the way through. It doesn't become something that's on the surface of your wood and concrete. It actually becomes a permanent part of your wood and concrete, and it will prevent further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. Wow, what a thing. Think about how much money you could save. I mean, just think about people who have a deck. If you are to seal your deck, you do that once a year, maybe once every couple of years. But if you didn't have to do it for 30 to 50 years, you could actually just enjoy that deck. Think of all the money that you would save. And if this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, why don't you reach out to Steve Nelson and the team over at EverSeal? They'll be glad to give you more information. Or you can call them at 1-844-EVER-USA. That's 844-EVER-USA. Or check out their website, ever-seal.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, Many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.
I want to tell you about DT McCall and Sons. They've got 5 convenient locations here in Middle Tennessee. That's right. There's one near you. Have you been to one? Well, listen, if you haven't, you really should stop by, especially if you're looking for certain things for your home, like appliances or furniture. Maybe you need a mower, you need a gun safe. I mean, there are all kinds of things for your home that you can find at DT McCall's, and these places are cavernous. I mean, they just go and go and go. You think seen it all, and you turn the corner, and look, there's a whole nother room that you haven't seen. So, you're going to find a lot of things to look at, and that means it's a huge selection. I'll tell you, Cabana Wife and I, we had very different ideas about what we wanted in a big sofa for our living room. And so I had my idea, she had hers. But when we got to DT McCall's, because they had such a big selection, within a few moments, we quickly came to agreement on something that we both liked. That's the advantage of having a lot of things on display. They're going to do everything they can for you. They've been around for 100 years or more, actually, more than 100 years. You don't make it that long without having a reputation for treating people right. They also try to sell products made and manufactured in Tennessee whenever possible, and that's a good thing because it keeps the dollars home here in Tennessee. 5 convenient locations. Find out about more of the things they can do for you and your home by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
It is 6:01 on this last day of fall. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 82 degrees and sunny on Music Row. Got a weekend weather forecast. Looks like it's going to be sunny, plus the latest traffic report. They're headed your way in 5 minutes. President Biden says his administration has established the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention in response to mass shootings around the country. Michelle Franzen.
In the wake of shootings across schools and communities in the U.S., President Biden announcing the first of its kind White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. The goal, help coordinate more support for survivors of gun violence and expand efforts in states to pass new laws to curb violence.
None of these steps alone is going to solve the entirety of the gun violence epidemic. None of them. But together, they will save lives.
The president tapping Vice President Kamala Harris to oversee the new office.
Crime in Tennessee. Police investigating after a woman was hit inside of her apartment this morning. The shooting happened off of Skyline Ridge Drive. Someone knocked on the woman's door, prompting her to get up and see what it was. That's when someone fired multiple shots through the window, hitting her in the thigh. Metro detectives are trying to identify a suspect right now. They know that the suspect did have a dark-colored hoodie on. Police in Albuquerque have made an arrest in a high-profile shooting of a child that led to the governor to make a controversial order. Alex Stone.
After 11-year-old Froylan Villegas was shot and killed in a car on September 6th, New Mexico's governor announced she was implementing a public health order banning concealed and open carry guns in public around Albuquerque. It was met with quick reaction even from her fellow Democrats who said she didn't have the power to pause the Constitution. A court has since barred the order from going into effect. Now, the police chief in Albuquerque announcing 2 men in their early 20s have been arrested in the shooting death of Villegas. Originally, it was believed to have been a road rage shooting, but police say it was actually mistaken identity when the 2 men fired into the wrong car.
And that is the latest news on this last day of summer. Fall starting tomorrow. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. This is The Drive, hour number 4 on this Friday. Hope that, you're on the way home, hopefully, so you can start your weekend. And what a nice weekend it's going to be. First day of fall is officially tomorrow. That's the 23rd. And then on the 28th, we get our full harvest moon. It's a super moon. It's not an average moon. It's a super moon. And that'll be fun.
By the way, I got a couple tips on the text line that said that fall officially begins at like 1:49 in the morning. So won't actually be the first full day of fall tomorrow. But, okay. 23 hours out of 24 ain't bad.
Okay. We'll call it close enough for government work.
I think so.
All right. There we go. I want to talk about the situation down on the border, which is getting worse and worse and worse. You think it was bad last year. Now, this year, even worse. Griff Jenkins from the border.
And this won't come as welcome news to the White House, but CBP sources confirmed to Fox News just moments ago that the total number of migrant encounters this fiscal year, 2023, have surpassed last year's record-breaking numbers. Take a look here. You see so far this fiscal year, and there's 8 days left in this fiscal year, 2,388,350 plus compared to that 2,378,000 from last year that shattered the records, more than 10,000, and you're getting upwards of 9,000 a day. Let's take a look at the video we saw yesterday all day long here at Ground Zero across the entire southwest border. Sources telling Fox News there were more than 9,900 encounters yesterday. Wow. Just part of why agents here are telling us off camera it's showing no signs of slowing down.
Wow. Wow. So, last year was a record year, and this year, and there are 9 days left, as he said, in the fiscal year, and they're coming across at 10,000 a day. So there will be more people who came to this country this year than last, and last year was a record-breaking year. 2.4 million people. I think the number that I hear a lot is that since Joe Biden took office, somewhere in the neighborhood of around 7 million people have come, because you got to add in the gotaways, and there are about 1.7 million of those. And there are also people who came into this country illegally that we don't know anything about. I mean, the gotaways, you know about the gotaways because you could see them on cameras or you can pick them up on sensors, but you don't actually have the resources to go out there and encounter them, to interdict them. And so, that's the ones that we know about, the known gotaways. What about the unknown gotaways? So, 7 million people, that's pretty close to the population of Tennessee. Whew. It's an out-of-control situation. Thanks to Fox News, though, for that sound. We really appreciate it. And here is the thing that's changing. It was only Fox News for the longest time that was talking about this. Maybe you'd see something on Newsmax. I mean, they're doing a good job as well. But, CNN, MSNBC, the three major networks, hardly anything at all. But that's changing. CNN now has reporters on the border, if anybody's watching, and it's become the major topic in the briefing room at the White House. So and the pictures, by the way, are really compelling. So, the White House now has to answer questions about it. The mayor of Eagle Pass, where a lot of this is happening right now, is a guy named Rolando Salinas. He was on CNN, and he's none too happy.
The president bears some of the responsibility for the crisis in your city.
I'll be honest with you. I believe 100% he does bear some responsibility for this crisis. I haven't heard from anybody in the administration. The president hasn't put out a statement. The vice president, I haven't heard from anybody. Nobody has bothered to call me, anyone in the city staff, saying, hey, this is the federal government. We know what you're going through. We're worried about you. This is our plan of action. Nothing. We're here abandoned. We're on the border. We're asking for help. This is unacceptable. Please, just enforce the laws that are on the books. We're a nation of laws. That's all I ask for, is that it shouldn't be like this. We should be able to enforce laws. If you want to come here, good. Come legally. A lot of people have in the past. It takes a lot of money and years to do it the right way. And it's not fair for those people that now you have thousands of people coming in without one single consequence. It's just not fair. What's disappointing is that you have all these thousands of people just walking in without any consequence whatsoever. So the word is getting out. It's kind of a come one, come all type of approach, and you have all these people coming. There is no consequence, and I just want to say that I think that this is unacceptable.
Well, there you go. A Democrat mayor sending his criticisms in the direction of the administration. Now, yesterday in the briefing room, there were a lot of questions about the surge of migrants that have made their way into Eagle Pass and other parts of the country, coming across at the rate of 9,000 or 10,000 a day. And Steve Ducey asked a question, and Karine Jean-Pierre tried to answer the question with a question. Well, I know why Steve tried to stop her. Because, Peter tried to stop her because, you have a situation where you ask the questions as a reporter and you're supposed to get answers, not questions. She tried to answer a question with a question, and Peter Ducey was having none of it. He just wasn't going to have any of it. And it devolved very quickly in one of the ugliest scenes that I can ever recall in the White House briefing room.
So what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't. I'm answering. Okay, we're gonna move on. No, we're moving on.
Great,
moving.
please.
In the back.
You said you were stopping the flow at the border.
No. I tried to answer, Peter.
Okay.
I tried to answer the question. You stopped me. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's move on. And she went right around him. Well, I don't know what happened. Apparently they got on the phone and they had a frank and full discussion of the matter. And today, Ducey asked the question again.
What do you call it when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So here's what I will say, and you heard me say this a couple times, and I'll say it again because it is the facts. On day one, the first day of this president's administration, he put forth a comprehensive immigration reform that we believe that was desperately needed for this country. Right? As we know, and you've heard us say this many times before, we are dealing with a broken system.
Well, hold on. Wait. Broken system? How was it broken before? How was it that Donald Trump didn't have this problem? I'll tell you how it was, is that they actually enforced the law. They allowed the Border Patrol to do its job. They allowed ICE to do its job. And here she's saying, well, it's a broken system. That's the problem. It's a broken system. Well, it wasn't broke under Donald Trump. I mean, this is insane. They're doing this because they want this to happen.
And no action was taken from Congress. And so what the president was able to do, he imposed consequences for those who do not have the legal basis to remain.
Wait. What consequences? What consequences were put in place? I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you talk to people down there on the border, they say that that's the reason they're coming. There are no consequences. If you get across the river and you touch soil on the American side, you get a piece of paper and a plane ticket. Welcome to America. Wherever you need, we're gonna take care of you. We're so glad that you're here. There are no consequences. They're completely circumventing the system we have for immigration in this country. The mayor of Eagle Pass, Rolando Salinas, is correct about this when he says, here's the problem, is they come across because they know if they get here, they're going to be let in. There are no consequences. There are no consequences. I don't know what world Karine Jean-Pierre is living in, but, she's just, this is unadulterated. You know what? It's unadulterated. This one makes me really mad, but let's let her continue.
And he has removed more than 250,000 individuals.
250,000 out of 7 million? Drop in the bucket.
This administration has done so since May 12th.
Whew. I'm telling you. But that wasn't the last question in the briefing room.
When you spoke last month,
yeah.
and you said we are stopping the flow at the border. Is 10,000 migrants in a single day stopping the flow?
What I will say is, I just mentioned 250 individuals have been
250,000, she meant.
stopped who do not have the legal pathway from coming in. That has been since May 12th. And as we are, looking at Eagle Pass, and I know this is a where kind of the issue is at the time at the moment. CBP quickly surged resources and personnel to the area, and thanks to their great work, we're able to swiftly vetted and processed into custody more than 2,500 individuals and cleared the area where migrants had congregated.
Wait. Just a little correction here. Why did they do that so quickly? Why did they want it to come in very quickly? And the people were stacked up under the bridge there in Eagle Pass, and it was a picture that was on TV. And you know what they don't like at the White House? They don't like a picture that demonstrates how bad the situation is. So they rush all their people in. They probably left good sections of the border uncovered so they could get people down there to process paperwork and get that picture taken care of in short order. It's what they did with the Haitians down in Del Rio. When they were under the bridge, they came in and broke up their little tent city and cleaned it up so that there was no picture for television to use. They weren't trying to be efficient. They were trying to get rid of a picture that they didn't like.
And that's the work of our law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's the work of our law enforcement at the border. Remember, House Republicans are trying to cut that. They're trying to cut that.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Lindsey Graham spoke to Newsmax on Thursday, and he's upset about the idea that they're going to give work permits to 470,000 Venezuelans. Graham told Wake Up America on Newsmax that the United States has completely lost control of the southern border. How smart do you have to be to figure out what will happen next if you give 470,000, about 500,000 Venezuelans work permits? You're going to get another million to come. They'll hear about the work permits and they'll start their trek. People will be attracted by that move, he says. He says in the supplemental sent to Congress to help with emergencies, you know what the Biden administration did on border security? You talk about what, Karine says they tried to cut. They defunded ICE, the enforcement part of immigration. They took money from ICE, and they said, we're going to put it into community shelters, which means more space for illegal immigrants. Graham said the Biden administration has done everything but take an ad out all over the world saying, come to America. If you get here, you'll never leave. These people are either incompetent or they're doing it on purpose. And I think, he said, they're doing it on purpose. He's right. Some of that money that was going to ICE apparently going to be spent in Chicago. Chicago signs nearly a $30 million contract to build giant winterized tent camps for migrants. Yes, they're gonna make up a bunch of yurts. I'm not making this up. You think I'm making this up? You know what a yurt is? It's a sort of a round tent. Chicago officials inked the one-year deal with Garda-Word Federal Services. The firm will be responsible for building, staffing, and operating huge tents, which will be able to house between 250 and 1,400 migrants. Chicago facing a migrant crisis, struggling to find long-term solutions. This third-largest city has seen an influx of 13,500 migrants recently and has already spent at least $250 million on the issue. Now they're spending another 30. Mayor Brandon Johnson detailed the massive migrant tents earlier this month. The tents will have yurt structures that would fit 12 cots each. They would have fire extinguishers and portable restrooms. Makeshift kitchens would be set up nearby. Listen to this. The tents will also reportedly have laundry, 3 meals a day. You don't have to worry about 3 squares a day. We will feed you. We will give you a place to live. We'll give you security. We'll give you all-day child care and transportation to doctor's appointments. Yurts. Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. 21 past the hour. It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6, and that means we're closing out the week now. It won't be long before at 7 o'clock will be here, and then it'll be Mark Levin, the great one. So as we wrap up this last hour of the week, I want to revisit the F-35. The whole thing about the F-35 and the pilot that ejected, and why did he eject, and what caused the problem, and why did it take allegedly 25 hours to find the aircraft? All of those questions continue to burble, and we're not getting many answers, but we are getting the 911 calls. And I have a lot of them here. I want to share some of them with you. You'll find this interesting. The first thing is a call to all units, or apparently a call from the dispatcher to units in the field.
70? Yes, sir. Just be advised, South Kenwood, we might have a military jet pilot that landed in the subject's backyard.
Kilo 940.
Unknown where the plane is possibly down at. We do not have information on that anywhere yet.
All right, so there's the call going out to all units. So we think there's a pilot who ejected and landed in somebody's backyard. Now you're going to hear the 911 call from the person whose backyard the pilot landed in. The dispatcher, boy, the poor dispatcher, really struggling to understand what's going on here.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
It says that. Yeah. You just want me to tell him you got ejected?
I will get my back for a little bit, but
I guess we got a pilot at our house, and he says he got ejected. Well, he ejected from the plane, so we just see if we could get some ambulance, please.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We got a pilot in the house, and I guess he landed in my backyard, and we're trying to see if we could get a ambulance to the house, please.
Wow, I mean, can you get an ambulance here? And then the poor dispatcher is still apparently very confused. So the pilot gets on, and he's okay. I mean, he's got a hurt back and all that, but he tries to explain to the dispatcher.
47. So we have a military jet crash. I'm the pilot. We need to get rescue rolling. I'm not sure where the airplane is.
Wow, think about that. He says that he ejected or he got ejected. I'm not sure which it is. But he doesn't know where the aircraft is. I mean, what a feeling that must be to know that, you've been shot out of a $100 million aircraft and you've landed in somebody's backyard and you don't know where the plane went.
It would have crash landed somewhere. I ejected.
See, that's interesting. He says, I ejected. I ejected, which means that he took the action. That's the way I read that.
Okay, I understand, sir. Okay, just to confirm, how many people are hurt?
Well, I'm the only one. I'm not sure about my wingman.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's still trying to process all of this out, and it continues.
How far did he fall?
I was at 2,000 feet.
2,000 feet. Now, what I have read, and I've read extensively on this because I'm so fascinated by the story, he had just taken off for the Charleston airport, two planes flying in tandem. And he was only 2,000 feet, which means he was barely beginning his climb out to altitude when, as he said, I ejected.
Okay.
And again, this poor dispatcher is just way over her head.
Okay, and what caused the fall?
An aircraft failure.
That's the pilot again, saying it was an aircraft failure. So the way I interpret this, tell me what you think, Chris. I think what he's saying here is I punched out because the aircraft was doing something that was not right. It was a failure of the aircraft.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too.
Now you got to know that an F-35B does have an auto punch out sort of ejection seat. It can do it on its own if you're in hover mode, but I don't think he was in hover mode. He was just taking off as a regular aircraft, even though the F-35B can take off vertically. It's what the Marine Corps flies. So, again, more from the 911 call.
Okay, is there any serious bleeding?
I don't know. I can't see myself.
Well, I guess that's true unless he's looking in the mirror. I don't know if I'm bleeding, but
You look fine. Just a couple scratches.
a couple scratches.
What did the other person say?
I feel okay. My back just hurts. Has there been a report of an airplane crash?
See, he's still concerned about the airplane. He knows that it probably went down somewhere, but it didn't.
I have not seen any come up yet.
Seems like if there had been a plane crash, the 911 dispatcher would know something about it, probably.
Okay, what part of the body was injured?
He just said his back.
Ma'am, I'm a pilot in a military aircraft, and I ejected. So I just rode a parachute down to the ground.
She's exasperated at this point.
Can you please send an ambulance?
Yes, sir. I've already told you they're on their way. I'm just required to ask these questions while they're en route.
All right, so I'm trying to get some more information. Well, as you know, the aircraft flew from the point where he either ejected or was ejected another 60 miles. And because it wasn't squawking with a transponder that helps the air traffic controllers, identify and follow the flight path of a plane, and because it's a stealth aircraft, they don't have any idea where it is. And that's why they had to come out and say, hi, the Pentagon here. Has anybody seen our F-35? It seems to be missing. Well, anyway, more and more information and more questions about the F-35 that did eventually crash some 60 miles north of Charleston. It's now 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7. Well, let's talk about Grace Point Healthcare, where they deliver medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing. You'll know how much it will cost before the care is actually delivered. They are probably best known for their smart care plans, and it's something you really should think about. Starting at $69 a month, you get unlimited office visits. I said unlimited. And free basic labs. Yes, I said free basic labs for an entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. Now, you marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan, it could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. No long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. This is why they've been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. They want you to know they have COVID testing and early treatment options, so if you get COVID, maybe you can get out of it a little earlier. That's right, but if you have COVID, give them a call at 599-6868. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Again, that number, 599-6868, to schedule a visit. Let's call it 39 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. We're headed into the last few moments of the program before we turn it over to Mark Levin, and we begin our weekend. I hope you have a great weekend planned with friends and family, and it's going to be some great weather. Tomorrow will be fall, summer. This is the last, I guess, full day of summer. Is that right? Or is that this?
Yep.
That's what we just said. Full last for and it's not technically a full day of fall tomorrow, but close enough.
Yeah, 23 out of 24 ain't bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Close enough.
So there you go. So, enjoy the weekend. Looks like we're going to have great weather. Doesn't look like, when I looked at the forecast, I didn't see any rain for days. So that's good. And boy, do I need it, because I've got a lot of yard work to catch up on. And so I'll be out in my yard using all my power tools.
Did you get your mower back yet?
Yeah, I did. I got it back today, and
good as new.
Yeah, I actually, I told you that I'd boogered up my lawnmower.
Mm-hmm.
I hit a sort of a stump, and I bent one of the blades, and so I didn't know what to do. So I thought, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be, but I can still mow, even though it gouges one side of the lawn. So I got it back today, and then I just scalped the yard to get rid of the gouges. But it's the time of year, I think, when you scalp your yard, right? I mean, you sort of do that.
Don't ask me. I'm not a yard expert.
I mean, either. But I cut it low, and and this weekend, because we're getting close to the end of the month of September, just a few days left, putting up the Halloween decorations.
It's about that time.
The 12-foot tall skeleton is going up. Now, I can't wait.
Make sure you secure it properly.
Yes, and by the way, there'll be also a security camera on it. If anybody gets any ideas about coming to steal Brian Wilson's 12-foot skeleton, we'll have all the cameras out there. Security cameras will be in place. Let's talk about just a series of things. The UAW strike. We care about this because we have auto plants here in our area and in the state of Tennessee, all over the place. UAW expanded their strike today to include more GM and Stellantis, what used to be known as Chrysler, sites. But Ford did not get an expansion. The main reason is that, according to Sean Fain, Ford had sweetened its offer in recent days, and the union wanted to recognize that the company was serious about reaching a deal. But Fain says, and this is their auto workers' position, at GM and Stellantis, it's a different story. He said, so we're going to expand our strike. Now, it did not impact the Spring Hill facility for GM, but it did impact a Memphis auto, it's a parts plant.
Yes, parts, I think, distribution center or something, yeah.
All right, so they're on strike over there. And again, I guess at the GM plant at Spring Hill, they are on day by day. Told day-by-day decisions will be made. So that's going on. And again, the strike, as it goes on, it will have an impact on the economy. The economy is already starting to show signs of cracking. Credit card losses rising at the fastest pace since the great financial crisis. Credit card companies are racking up losses at the fastest pace in almost 30 years outside of the great financial crisis, according to Goldman Sachs. They bottomed in September of 21, and while initial increases were likely reversals from the stimulus that people got, they've been rising rapidly since the first quarter of 2022. Since that time, it's an increasing rate of losses only seen in recent histories during the recession of 2008. It's far from over, the firm predicts. Well, I know, but they can't be possibly right because I keep hearing Joe Biden talking about the wonders of Bidenomics. Losses currently stand at 3.6%, up 1.5% from the bottom, and Goldman sees them rising another 1.3% to about 5%. Wow, 5% washout on credit cards. That's something else. Comes at a time when Americans owe more than $1 trillion on credit cards, a record high. We think delinquencies could continue to underperform seasonality, although the middle of next year, and I don't see those losses peaking until late 2024, early 2025 for most issuers. Of the past 5 credit card loss cycles, 3 were characterized by recessions. The 2 that occurred when the economy was not in a recession were in the mid-90s, 2015 and 2019. In our view, this cycle resembles the characteristics of what was experienced in the late 1990s. Oh, Lord. And not too bad as far as unemployment goes in the state of Tennessee. We, compare and contrast our economy to the nation's economy. Are you looking for a job? According to WTVF's website, new numbers from the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce show that unemployment has been down for the past couple of months in nearly every county across the state. The data comes as September is National Workforce Development Month. Who knew? According to the data, 93 of the 95 counties recorded rates below 5%, while 2 had rates slightly above the 5% mark. Moore County had Tennessee's lowest unemployment rate in August, 2.4%. Both Sevier and Williamson County had rates of 2.5. That's amazing. A decrease, actually. Davidson County falls in the 8th spot on the list for the lowest unemployment rates in the state, just under 3. Lauderdale County had the highest unemployment at 5.8%. Bledsoe County had the next highest rate at 5.2%. All right. You're gonna love this. Joe Biden is giving a speech. He's out, talking to people about, and attending in a thing that was to honor a specific group of Democrat voters. And here's what he said.
And I mean this sincerely. My dad used to say, everyone is entitled to be treated with dignity and respect. The Congressional Black Caucus embodies all those values.
So, there's just one problem with that. He wasn't talking to the Congressional Black Caucus, a group of Democrats who happen to be African American. There are no Republicans in the Congressional Black Caucus, even though there are black Republicans who've tried to join and they won't let them. But one way or the other, he's talking about, look.
The Congressional Black Caucus embodies all those values.
There's just one problem. He was at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus delivering this speech. It's the third gaffe in as many days. And it continues to be something that just makes everybody shake their head and wonder. Here we go. Dallas mayor leaves the Democrat Party, switches to GOP, says that American cities need Republicans. His name is Eric Johnson, African-American, elected in 2019, been a vocal supporter of law enforcement. Now, you want to know how to solve the problem with crime. I mean, everybody's talking about crime is runaway crime. We got to, the president's got he's got a plan to have a particular department that tries to solve the problem of gun violence. Well, they had a problem with gun violence in Dallas, and then they elected Mayor Johnson, and he went out there and he said, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to enforce the laws of this country, of this state, and of this city. We're going to enforce the laws." And he got a tough police chief, and he supported law enforcement, gave them a budget, and they went out there and they started making arrests and taking bad people off the street. And Lord of mercy, guess what happened? Shock of shocks, crime rate went down dramatically. Violent crime rates went down dramatically. It's all you got to do to solve the problem. If the president of the United States want to know how to stop gun violence, take violent offenders off the streets, the people who do not play by the rules, and leave the law-abiding citizens who do play by the rules alone, for Christ's sake. Come on. Excuse me. I regret that I said it that way, but it's irritating, isn't it? So our cities desperately need the genuine commitment to these principles, as opposed to the inconsistent, poll-driven commitment of many Democrats. In other words, American cities need Republicans, and Republicans need American cities. When my political hero, Theodore Roosevelt, was born, only 20% of Americans lived in urban areas. By the time he's elected president, that share doubled to 40%. Today, it's at 80%. As American cities go, so goes America. Been a vocal supporter of police, as other cities, including the Texas capital of Austin, have moved to defund police. I bet you compare the crime rates in Austin to the crime rates in Dallas, and it's a lot better in Dallas than it is in Austin. The answer is simple. Enforce the law and leave the people who are obeying the law alone. A bright guy named Mark Lewis wrote this column in townhall.com. I've been arguing for months that Joe Biden will be the Democrat nominee for president. He based it on a great extent historical precedent. It hasn't been since the 1880s that a political party has refused to nominate a sitting president. They even renominated, he says, Jimmy Carter. And so I've argued that Biden will be the Democrat nominee. But now he's changed his mind. I'm suggesting here that Democrats will dump Biden for one reason or another. Democrats are not stupid. They are corrupt, evil, wicked, perverted, venal, thieves, liars, and cheats, but they are not stupid, and they know how to win. He goes on to predict that Biden will be dumped. 50 minutes now, past the hour of 6 o'clock.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Winkler. The financial world can be full of landmines for investors. On the one hand, investment firms and the financial community will often overcomplicate the financial planning process to confuse investors. As one guy who used to work a big investment firm once told me, if an investor thinks that they're over their head, they'll blindly trust you. And it's easier to sell to them. I'm glad I'm away from that. On the other hand, many people oversimplify investing to the detriment of investors. Just having a little knowledge can be really dangerous. The idea there is the same. It's just a different way of selling things. At Paul Winkler Inc., we like working alongside our clients with an education guidance approach. I believe that there's confidence that comes with knowing what you're doing and why. We abide by the very highest level of fiduciary care, and we use the most sophisticated financial planning tools out there. And every one of our offices is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. No kids fresh out of college. If that sounds like a winning formula, set up a free 15-minute phone call to learn more. Go to paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950. You can do this.